Go live. Going live. And we are live, but not really, because we are in the past. And you are in the future. So, yeah, we pre-recorded this because we're on vacation. So
I feel like we should hold a newspaper up with the current date to let everyone know.
Oh, to let everyone know? Who has a newspaper?
That's a good.
Print is dead.
Also, if we were in the past, that wouldn't really help because we could have just
true, exactly.
a newspaper.
We could have just held on to it. Yeah.
I'll show my phone, but it's gonna be mirrored.
Yeah, you want me to pull up an article from like The Economist or something?
This plan has serious holes.
Let's see, CNN.com front page.
What's going on?
What's going on right now?
What's happening?
Yeah.
Simone Biles dropped out of the Olympics. That's what happened today.
That's what happened today. Gymnastics a disaster. USA Gymnastics. Wow. Ali Reisman does not approve of USA Gymnastics, apparently.
Wow.
So, wow.
And
the CDC director says
us.
Delta variant acts differently than past strains.
Ooh,
interesting.
It's quirky. It's different.
Didn't we get told to like put our masks on inside, or was that somewhere else?
Oh, did they change that in
Connecticut?
The CDC I got a Twitter notification. I don't know how much I can trust Twitter, but
yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Camilla, what are you drinking?
Lemonade?
Oh, okay, that's lemonade. I couldn't determine because the color was off, the viscosity was strange.
The what?
The viscosity? Okay. You know what in God's name I mean. It looks strange. I was like, you're either drinking straight vegetable oil or goat milk.
It's lemonade. Jesus Christ.
I did not even think about the blood of lemons. But
the blood of lemons. Well,
glad.
With that rousing start, wouldn't it be more the flesh of lemons?
Can we just please, God, move on?
Okay.
What are intestines if not the pulp of man?
We'd like to welcome our guest Camilla to the show. Thanks for coming.
I feel so welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I don't even
today
want to drink this anymore.
Today we're going to talk about music, which is fun. I like music. I think everyone likes music.
I love music.
Imagine meeting someone that didn't like music. How on edge? Yeah. Like you're like, what kind of music do you listen to? I don't really listen to all that.
I don't. Yeah.
On edge.
What do you listen to? I just listen to radio broadcasts of the news and sports.
Hey, so, I just realized I have to go walk my fish. Bye.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
honestly,
exactly.
You gotta dip out of there.
Like,
yep.
Out of there.
Like,
so
returning to a previous topic. Camilla, it looks like you were drinking straight Vaseline. I didn't know what it looked like, but now I know it. Now, okay. Now it's
Vaseline.
dead. We can continue on. I thought you were chugging straight Vicks. Straight
Vaseline.
Vicks Vapo Rub up in here.
Vaseline isn't liquid. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. It was like watered down Vaseline.
Ugh. Wait, you can't water it down. It's like, oil and water don't mix, right? It's an
okay, yeah.
Substance.
Hey, Max, if you haven't caught on, I've never tried to water down Vaseline before.
Well, neither have I, but I just know the scientific fact of hydrophobic substances.
I should have thought of the hydrophobic substances before Camilla started drinking Vaseline.
Anyway, let's get into the plugs. All right. You can go to our website, gravitymaxmedia.com, where we have stuff about books and news. Also, social media, Gravity Max social media, links in the description. Go check it out. Also, follow Sebastian on social media, Instagram and YouTube, 128 seconds. He makes videos that are 128 seconds long and are educational, just like these live streams, but shorter, so that, if you don't have time to listen to us talk about the intricacies of Camilla's beverage, then you can head on over to 128 seconds. Links in the description to everything we've been talking about, and A Somewhat Odd Start on Amazon, third book in a trilogy. Go read it if you like sci-fi. Anyway, bops, bangers, and jams. So,
Yeah, bops,
as the
bangers, and
kids would
jams.
say.
Exactly. There's so much slang. A lot of slang actually comes from music, with many examples. But bops, bangers, and jams are, personally, to me, they mean different things. And I want you guys to weigh in. Yeah, so yeah.
100%. 100%.
Like a bop. Like someone explained this a while ago. I don't remember their explanation, so I'm coming up with one. A bop is something you would have on like the background or something, and you just listen to like a very catchy tune, recognizable melody. Like if you play that melody, doesn't matter what instrument, people know exactly what song you're playing.
It also feels dancey.
Dancey, exactly. It's the grooviest out of these, I would say. A banger. Now, a banger is pretty much the exact opposite energy, because you hear a banger and you want to listen to it. You can't just have a banger on in the background. If you're trying to study, trying to do work, you can't have a banger on in the background. If you have a banger playing, that is your main focus. It's your primary focus. You can't do anything else. So, bangers, you just listen to it and you're in. You're along for the ride. They capture your attention. They make you feel some type of way. Jams, that's Pink Floyd.
All right.
And that's what I have to say.
Put.
You're not wrong, is the thing. You're just not wrong.
Because jams, I feel, are kind of in the middle. Because you can listen to it, and you can have it in the background. It's
jams are more low-key bops. It doesn't have to be dancey to be a jam. But, you also want to listen to it. But also, it's one of the... Jams are, things that you can, be doing something else, but also sing along to at the same time.
Exactly. They're like the middle ground between bops and bangers. So, they all have different uses. Pros, cons to each. I'm sure we can categorize some of the songs we have here as a bop, a banger, or a jam. Might be interesting to do, but we will see. We have a lot of songs up here.
Yeah.
Of the three, wait. Quick question for both of you. Of the three, what type of song slaps?
Slaps?
Oh no.
I would say that could apply to all three, because here's the thing: the three terms can apply to any genre of music. Because you take classical music. I could show you a bop, a classical music bop, I could show you a classical music banger, and I could show you a classical music jam. And I could do all the same with metal, I could do all the same with rock and all that. And you could say all of those things slap. So I would say you could call a bop or just a real slapper. A banger is definitely a slap. And I don't know why it sounded so weird. And jams, slaptastic.
Oh, you know what I just thought of as a classical banger? The movement from Beethoven that starts D, S, E, Re.
Yes,
just
banger.
It's really intense.
Because
it's
you can't just have that on in the background unless you're planning an invasion into another country.
Exactly.
It's you can't. Well, Camille, what were you saying?
It's very intense. Yeah.
I forget. What was I saying?
We're talking about what slaps with bops, bangers, and jams.
Right. The only thing is, I never say, I don't know why, but jam and slap doesn't equate for me.
You don't slap jam?
I don't know why.
Sometimes I want to slap jam.
I feel that. You know those bags of rice that you see in the grocery stores that you just smack the hell. I don't know why that's a universal thing, but sometimes I do.
I'm so sorry. That took me so off guard. I wasn't expecting that. I'm so sleep deprived. I was not expecting rice.
I'll take you so many places. I'll take you to the grocery store. I'll take you to the moon. We're going all over the place today. Gravity Max.
To the candy shop?
World tour. Candy shop. do. We'll go all over the place.
Sorry.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
I was thinking about music and then my brain just went,
And then you started drinking more Vaseline. But we can start going into the episode if we want. So yeah.
You beat me to it. I was about to say, like...
Every single time I come on this show, it's like 50% super fun, interesting conversations, and 50% new variants of headaches I didn't know I could get.
I'm a headache. But the real title for this episode, or like the real subject of this episode, is a look at music of the 1900s. But we also look at the 2000s
and 2 decades after. Yeah. So it's just decades
to now.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So how this is gonna work is on each slide we have 10 songs, and what those 10 songs are the top song of the year in each year of a decade. So we have 1900s first. So that's 1900s. So the top song for the year 1900, and then the top song for the year 1909, and all the ones in between are going to be on that slide. So that's sort of how we've like been analyzing the sort of cultural aspects and trends of each decade. So yeah, and I find it pretty interesting how often the music really lines up closely with like events that you would learn in history class. So yeah. So also I did all the odd number decades, so I'm more knowledgeable on those, and Sebastian did all the even number ones, so you know more about those. So yeah, take it away.
All right. So 1900s, to start off an entire century, what music would they choose to represent just the turn of the millennium, the absolute shift of time, and this new birth of incredible music of what would be the most musical century to date? The most racist song I have ever heard. I've heard songs that are trying to be racist, and they don't come close. Like, I don't seek out those songs. I've heard them. They're in the atmosphere. This song, My Tiger Lily, sung by Arthur Collins, is the most racist song I have ever heard. Like I was, because, I started. Max was like, take the evens. I'm like, sure, cool. I gotta listen to some nice music, I usually listen to music when I'm making slides, either for this or for 128. Awesome. Now I have an excuse. I turn on a little Arthur Bartholomew Collins, that's not his middle name, and it's distorted. Like, as you can see, all these, I just took the Victor records or the Columbia or the Victrola records for it, because that's how they were played. They might be on like a phonograph or something like that, but so the quality was terrible, so I couldn't really make out what he was saying, and then I could, and it was worse. It was so bad. So yeah, I mean, like the early 1900s was an extremely racist era. Like, there were large implementations of segregation and stuff like that. We were just coming off of Reconstruction. When did Reconstruction end? Like
1877 is usually when they say. That's when they withdraw the troops.
Right. So, all of that, the Civil War, it was probably still decently fresh in people's minds. And it was just such a jarring war that, some people still are. But the thing about it was that, like, the point of this song, he's basically just capitalizing on stereotypes of African Americans in this song, and that is all he is talking about. Like, there is nothing else to this song. It's not very melodic. Going into the actual melodies of this track, it's very simple. And that's what I noticed amongst all of these things, with the exception of the 1901 number one, which was Stars and Stripes Forever March by Sousa, the composer, which was originally composed in 1896, but it got number 1 in 1901. And the one that was in a play, which was Tell Me Pretty Maiden, which was the 1902 one, so the one right after that. But everything else, pretty minimalist for music, if you catch my meaning. Not many instruments. All of them have lead vocals, as in and soloists, so only one person singing. With the I think the ones by the Hayden Quartet might be an exception, like the one in 1904 with Bedelia. But that one's just going by my memory. That might have just had a soloist on vocals. But
so that's actually really interesting.
Yeah,
because I was reading about the different time periods, and at this point, recording technology was still very primitive.
Yeah.
Recording and playing technology. Like if you zoom in, they have like on the Victor records with the dog staring into like a phonograph. This isn't even like what you think of as a phonograph. You know what I mean? Like if you zoom in on it, like it's a weird like rudimentary form of a phonograph, which is already like an item that is like stereotypically used to be like, oh, look how ancient, right? Mm-hmm. This is like an ancient version of an ancient object. But also the recording technology, you had to have like a huge like cone that would like, you know, dig the little like inscriptions into a record. Mm-hmm. And there was no way to like adjust the audio or have multiple microphones. So you would have to physically come closer to the recording device to like get it etched onto the record. And so you couldn't have too many different musical instruments. Otherwise, like the room would physically get too crowded. Like that's crazy. So that's probably why you had soloists and simple instrumentation, because it's like, all right, we're in this, like half the room is taken up by the microphone itself. So we can fit like a singer and a guy on the kazoo. Like that's it, you know? So
honestly, that's what it was like. The one that stood out to me the most was the 1906 one, which is that blue record in the bottom row. And that's Nobody, which is a song by Bert Williams. And Bert, I did a little research on him, and he is an African-American guy, so it's very significant that he got the number 1 spot for 1906, because, I mean, consider, like, the 1900 one, which was literally just made to, you know, disenfranchise people like Bert Williams. But Williams was actually an extremely successful comedian and entertainer, and he would actually go down in American history as the first ever black man to have the leading role in a film, to have the lead role. So very successful guy. And he dipped his hand into music, and it certainly worked out for him. But yeah, I would say the biggest takeaways from the music of the 1900s, pretty racist undertones in most of these, in the ones that are like specifically about that. Also rising up from this, I would say the star of this decade was the Hayden Quartet. They appear on 3 out of the 10 records here, as well as what's his name, Billy Murray, not Bill Murray. I made that mistake when I was writing it down. I'm like, did Bill Murray, was he born in 1900? But, or before, to be able to sing this. But, and
was he born in he would have been 8.
Yeah. He's a very talented guy. But, Billy Murray was one of the most famous singers from this time. He is the guy that got Yankee Doodle famous, which became famous around this time period, as well as Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which is 1908. So a couple of classics in this one here. If I move myself, because I'm in the lower right corner.
Yeah, Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Yeah, you have Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which is obviously still used at baseball games. You have Stars and Stripes Forever, still used by the military and by the government. And what I just moved myself for is Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, which is just a famous tune. So a lot of famous tunes coming out from here. But again, mainly minimalist. Again, you couldn't fit a lot of instruments in a room. So with the exception of Sousa, It was going to be just... I would call these a bop, because I can't really picture listening to any of these. Like, I can't really picture listening to these as actual music, but I think that's just because of their age. Like, Stars and Stripes Forever, like, I just know that as the government song and all that stuff. Like, I wouldn't put it on and sit there like, this is...
Wait,
this
I have
is
to play this now, just for myself, because a lot of these songs I know the title, but then, like, won't... Like, when I was doing the songs myself, and I didn't recognize the song, but yeah.
There's also no way that this is copyrighted. Like, this is way too far
fair enough.
To also be copyrighted. So if we wanted to, we could probably play a couple.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's all right.
Wait, okay. Before we started
this song. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Before we started this, you weren't here for this, but I was going through all of the names of the songs to see which ones I recognized, and I swear, I'm not making this up, the amount of songs that I recognized that I knew was 69.
Very nice.
Yeah, 57.5% of these.
That's really good.
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I would say 1900s. It's interesting because you gotta watch the theme of one lead solo vocalist, because I also did the 1920s, and that is very prevalent there, but they've shifted more over to jazz and stuff like this, whereas this is more... I can't really think of a name for what this is.
Yeah,
but
a lot of these are just like sort of like, to a certain point, like classics, where it's like not like, at this point it's like most of these songs you'll hear them more often sung not professionally. So like Take Me Out to the Ball Game, you'll never hear that sung by like professionals, but rather by like thousands of half drunken fans at a baseball game. Like,
and
so that's interesting.
Swing
like
Low,
no
Sweet
instruments,
Chariot,
but
the most I've heard that song was this one time where I was on a field trip with my chorus. So we had about, give or take, 50 teenage children screaming Swing Low, Sweet Chariot for like a solid 4 hours therein.
Oh my gosh.
So we technically were singers, but not in that moment.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, have you actually ever like performed any of these? Have these ever come up in like chorus singing class? Any of that?
Nope. I mean, I just talked about the Swing Low, Sweet Chariot fiasco, but
debacle.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we have.
I didn't really expect that, because like Max was saying, you wouldn't really sing these professionally just because they're so old that they've become like classics. And again, I was talking about this way before we got on stream, like yesterday. As the people living in America, as like Americans recovered from the British accent and we're making our way to an American accent, there was a weird thing in the middle, and that's what these guys have. They have like weirdly high-pitched voices, and that's another very striking thing.
Did you just say recovered?
Recovered from a British accent. Everyone dropped the act, but they didn't know how to, land back on their feet. So they went with a weirdly high-pitched tone.
I just remembered, I just saw this. We didn't sing this, but we did listen to Vesti.
Yeah, that one is...
I forgot why.
That one's an opera.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, he probably has the lowest voice out of anyone here, because I think he's Italian, and wasn't recovering from the British accent. So he definitely has the lowest voice out of anyone on here. But
Well, it's interesting. It took like actors longer to recover, if that's the preferred terminology. Like,
Yes.
if you look at like 40s and 30s movies, like even up to the 50s, like all the actors speak like British people would. And that's
Yeah.
not because like they genuinely had a British accent, and I think this might be like a trend in vocal training, where like it's like the professional way to sing or act, and like everyone's like, oh, you got to do it like this, even though there's like no one actually talks like that. I wonder.
You see it a lot in choral music because
Mhm.
the pure vowels that sound better when a lot of people are singing at once. So choral and opera actually. The pure vowels are closer to British English than American. The closest really would be, I think, Italian vowels,
That's
but
interesting.
it is technically closer to British than American.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, that is interesting. Yeah, because like I wonder, are the Latin vowels like just a old, dead language Latin? Are they close to the pure vowels, or?
Yeah, because they're pretty much the same as Italian. So it's just a
Italian's
lot
the
of like.
closest language to Latin.
Yeah, I
there's-
wonder if that's why all the operas are like you get so many like Italian and Latin operas.
You get a lot of Romance language operas. Although we also do get a lot of German operas. To be fair,
I would kill to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
a German opera.
you've never heard a German opera?
I've never heard a German opera.
That's just like Mozart
Seriously?
and Beethoven.
Oh. Okay, well, I always listen to
No.
Some of it. I mean, they might do some things in Latin, but they are.
Hold on, wait.
I think
I'm
Mozart
gonna double
did
check
a
something
opera.
before I get this wrong.
I haven't
But
heard that.
It's in the movie Amadeus, right? Do you remember where he's like
I don't think
he's like conducting we watched it in orchestra.
Was I there?
He's conducting like an opera. Oh no, wait, because you're in band.
Yeah, I did band, man. I played,
Yeah. Well,
I played
maybe
the
they
poem.
showed it in band too. Maybe they showed the Amadeus movie.
Yeah, no, we watched Shrek 2. If you ever needed to know the difference between orchestra and band, you watched Amadeus, we watched Shrek 2.
to be fair, we also watched Shrek in orchestra. In
Yeah, we
school.
did. Yeah, at some point we watched like.
I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
I know I've seen a few German operas. I can't find the ones that would be. I mean, The Magic Flute is a German opera.
Yeah, I've heard that mentioned. But yeah, so overall in 1900s, it was like a strange transitional time. It was everyone getting used to the new recording technology.
Yeah.
And
this is still pre-radio.
Yeah.
So it's like you would have to like buy a record.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I'd say. It started off very racist, but 1906, a black man does get the #1 spot on the Billboard and on the charts. So, and that was pretty incremental. But the rest of everyone on here, I'm pretty sure, are just white men. And there are no women on this one, I don't believe.
Interesting.
But there were some women that got lower seats on the billboards, but I don't think any of them got the #1 spot here. But also, I mentioned this very quickly, but the 1902 one, "Tell Me Pretty Maiden," that is from a English play, and that's also a theme throughout. I would say like arguably half of the slides we're going to show is that many times songs will get the #1 spot because they were in a play or a movie, because that makes them very like famous, and like if they're memorable, people will go and buy the record.
Yeah, there's a Robin Hood song later on.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I have for the 1900s, 1900 to 1909.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's annoying that you have to specify. The worst one is 2000s, because it's like, do you mean the decade, the century, or the millennium? It's like.
Did we go through and like say all the names of the songs?
Oh yeah, I could read through real quick.
Yeah.
So
Just because sometimes the records are hard to read.
yeah. So
Yeah,
1900, the first one there is My Tiger Lily, sung by Arthur Collins. Most racist song I've ever heard. 1901, Stars and Stripes Forever by John Philip Sousa. 1902, Tell Me Pretty Maiden by Byron G. Harlan, which is from an English musical called Floridora. 1903 is In the Good Old Summertime, that's by the Hayden Quartet. And In the Good Old Summertime is also the name of a Judy Garland movie. And I don't know if the two are connected, but I know Judy Garland is later on, because I think a song from The Wizard of Oz is on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1939.
Yeah. Then you have Bedelia, also by the Hayden Quartet, which is just a love song about an Irish woman. You have Give My Regards to Broadway, which is by Billy Murray, again, one of the most famous singers from that time period. He also got Yankee Doodle popular in that same year. 1906, Nobody by Bert Williams. Again, Williams was a very successful entertainer. 1907 is Vesti La Juba? Is that how you say it?
Juba,
Yeah, thank you. And that's an opera. Then you have Take Me Out to the Ball Game, which is actually a collab. Legendary collab.
Yeah.
The two biggest names of the 1900s, as in 1900 to 1909, Billy Murray and, you guessed it, the Hayden Quartet coming together to write Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
What is this, a crossover episode?
And then finally 1909, Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, performed by the Fisk University Jubilee Quartet, which is one of the most famous versions of that song. That is the 1900s.
All right, 1910s. So 1910s, the first half of the decade, the songs are very upbeat and showy, and to me it sounded like they were from musicals, and like many of them were actually from vaudeville shows. So this is like, vaudeville is an interesting sort of thing because it's not like a play, but instead they would do like 12 different acts almost. It's like a cross between like a play and like a circus, because you would have like acrobats occasionally, right? But then you'd have like comedians and like all this different stuff. And like it was very popular in this time period, 1900s and 1910s, to just like go to a vaudeville show because, there's no movies yet, really. There might be a few, like, it's like just the very beginning of film, but it's like not a popular thing. And they're all silent films too. So yeah, vaudeville. A lot of these are like from vaudeville shows. So yeah, I'll read through them. So you have Let Me Call You Sweetheart, Peerless Quartet, Some of These Days, Sophie Tucker, That Haunting Memory, Al Jolson. Al Jolson was a vaudeville actor. So.
Yeah, and a very famous one too. He comes up a lot in the 1920s.
Yeah. So then you have When Irish Eyes Are Smiling by Chauncey Olcott, and that was composed for a show. Then you have By the Beautiful Sea by the Heidelberg Quintet. So that's the first half of the decade. So then you get into the second half of the decade, and you start to get some like war songs because it's World War One. I like so you have, before you get to that, 1915, Hello Frisco, Olive Klein, and Reinhold Warenrath.
Frisco.
That's just like Frisco. That is that's not a war song. That's like another of these like showy songs. But then Somewhere a Voice is Calling, John McCormick, and then Over There, Nora Bayes, 1917. I quite like this one. This one, the first like line of the song is, Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. So it's an interesting song. You get to like another lyrics is like, the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, and it's just like World War One, like patriotic song. And I do wonder, because in history class they talk about Woodrow Wilson had sort of like a department of censorship, and also like a department, like they provided funding to like sort of propaganda pieces where they'd have like, they made like a King Kong like poster. This is a pretty like famous one where it's like the Kaiser is King Kong, and it's just like all these sort of like very, you know, patriotic songs. And so I wonder how much over there by Nora Bayes, I wonder if it was like propped up by the sort of government efforts, but at the same time though, people were just very patriotic about World War One at this point. So they're like, oh yeah, World War One. And yeah, they talk about, like, it's interesting because in the lyrics of this song, they talk about the stuff that like the Wilson administration did, like sort of like the Safe for Democracy stuff, like, oh, we're fighting for liberty. Yeah, everyone for liberty. So yeah, it's an interesting song. Then 1918, you get Tiger Rag by the original Dixieland Jazz Band. And this is interesting because this is the first like jazz song that gets to the #1 spot, and jazz will be very popular in the 1920s. And so, yeah, jazz like started as African American music, and then you also had white singers start to like do recordings of it and make their own. But the original Dixieland Jazz Band, yeah, you can see them right here. So, yeah, so this is interesting, just that jazz becomes popular. Then 1919, you have After You've Gone by Marion Harris, which is a blues song. And it was written by two African-American vaudeville duo. I'm not sure what exactly they did on vaudeville, because there's so many songs here. But it was Turner Layton and Henry Creamer. And so, yeah, it was popularized by Marion Harris, who sang it. So, yeah, lots of interesting songs here. I just find it fascinating that once you get, like, I like the historical events that come into play, World War One. Yeah.
This was the only decade that I didn't know any of the songs from.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would say just as a general decade, World War One dominates the 1910s.
Yeah.
Like, I can think of very few other events from the 1910s that aren't things that lead up to World War One, or like the aftermath of World War One, or just World War One. So, you know, it's like...
I think of, like, 1912. Here's one thing. I mean, it's kind of related to World War One, though, I guess. The 1912 election, like that three-way election with Teddy Roosevelt. I just think about that because I like Teddy Roosevelt, but...
Titanic. 1912 Titanic sinks.
Oh, yeah, Titanic.
So, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, interesting decade. Yeah, you get, like, the sinking of the Lusitania.
So
I wonder if that spurred on the popularity of the song too, like all those things that happened before World War One.
So would you say the music like sped up since the 1900s? Like, are more instruments involved, or is it like faster?
Yeah. There's a lot of like trumpets and brass. Yeah, I would say. So more than like strings. So it's very just like, it's energetic, I guess I would say. It's like it makes you want to like get on your feet and start like dancing.
So yeah, I feel like strings would be more 30s.
Yeah.
Vibe.
Yeah, because 1900s, like I was saying, very minimalist. You really only had one dude singing and then one dude on the piano. And if you're lucky, you get two other dudes to maybe help with one or two of those things. And that's what the Hayden Quartet was. But yeah, like music, like especially with jazz, because you know there is slow jazz and there's blues and stuff, but then there's also more like swing jazz and stuff like that, and that eventually catches on. But yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I have to say about 1910s. Very fun.
You need some bangers to get you through the war. Arguably the worst war ever. So.
Yeah, the climax of all history.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know if banger.
Yeah, these I wouldn't say these are bangers yet. Like jazz.
No, that's not what I mean. I just it's a war.
You need a
It's a
banger
war.
to get you through the trenches.
I'm telling you, listen to Over There and tell me it's not a bang.
I'll listen to it.
Yeah, okay, but can we talk about the fact that bang is in the word, please?
Oh, yeah.
Really quickly.
That's true.
Well, yeah, that's what
it
went
sounds like an old, like, slang term, an old army slang term for grenades.
Yeah.
Bangers.
The Krauts are throwing bangers in my trenches. You know?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Anywho, on to...
This is a banger. Where?
Yeah, exactly.
I've got a banger in my bag.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Is it live? I think that's how it was recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. But on to one of my favorite decades. 1920s. We're talking Great Gatsby, which is on my bed. Not the guy, the book.
Yeah. 20s are fun.
Yeah, the 20s are fantastic, man. So, starting us off with the 1920s is Al Jolson, who just came up in the 1910s. And Al Jolson rose to, like, superstardom in the 1920s, partially because of this hit track. He's credited as one of the biggest stars of the 1920s. And it's really interesting because Al Jolson was actually born in Russia, and he came to the U.S. as an immigrant. He was Jewish, but despite that, he was still able to rise to very considerable amounts of fame, to the point where there's actually a quote from Ernest Hemingway about Al Jolson, and a lot of celebrities commented on him, but Ernest Hemingway has a quote on Al Jolson about him telling a story. Ernest Hemingway is telling the story of how he was at one of Jolson's shows with Zelda Fitzgerald, the wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and the two of them were friends. That's Ernest Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Fitzgerald were more than friends. But he comments that during the show, Zelda Fitzgerald mentioned that she thinks that Al Jolson was famous enough to be bigger than Jesus. In the 1920s, when everyone was like Christian, hardcore Protestant Christian.
That's really funny because I think like the Beatles maybe said the same thing about themselves at one point.
Yes. And that was
I remember that.
And that was found to be true. Like they actually that was actually a true statement at the time. But so the other really weird thing I found about Al Jolson is this. And before I go into it, I do need to point out that just because of the fact that it's 100 years ago means that there are a lot of historical inaccuracies and stuff like that about Al Jolson and the message he was trying to spread. But what we do know for a fact is that Al Jolson...
I just read the note.
Yeah. So, Al Jolson often performed in full blackface. Now, it was the 1920s, so that was, not seen as a weird thing to do. It's obviously a horrible thing to do. But it is kind of a historical consensus, a consensus by historians, that Jolson wasn't doing that to disenfranchise African Americans or to make fun of them. Apparently, the reason that he performed in blackface so often was because he himself was Jewish, and what he wanted to do was compare the struggle of the Jews to the struggle of African Americans. Again, that's just conjecture. There are reports of African Americans who were infatuated with Al Jolson as he was a superstar at the time. But again, that doesn't speak for all African Americans, of course. But it's a really weird historical fact, and I would need to do much more research into that. But that is, that's just a fact about the way he performed. But he has been credited as one of, if not the most famous people from the 1920s.
Mhm.
I listened to his track. He has a really good singing voice, I'm gonna be honest, and recording technology has improved at this point.
Yep.
So
And you have
it's able to
radio
pick up-
too.
And you have radio, which started at the beginning of this decade. I think it came out in
Yeah,
1920.
it came out in 1920, but it spread like wildfire. Radio adoption was super quick. By the end of the 20s, like, I forget the exact statistic, but like it was really fast, and it became like a cultural, like everyone listened to the radio.
Yeah, everyone listened to the radio. It was like part of the reason. Like in the 20s, there was a lot of like people would become a lot more famous a lot more quickly because of the radio, because songs would get out faster, and then you could listen to it whenever it came on the radio, which if enough people liked them was often. So it was like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they say that FDR like got elected because he was able to like and stayed elected because of how well he utilized radio. Like he was the first candidate to actually utilize radio.
Yeah.
So
it's like their radio is like our social media nowadays.
Yeah. It's just like a new communication technology, like JFK and TV, and then like Obama and Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So those are the three ones that I always come up with in history, that they say that those three presidents utilized communication technology as part of their campaign, like new communications. So, yeah.
So honestly, the ones that hit the number one were kind of slower tunes, slower jazz and blues tunes. There is one country song, and that is the Jimmie Rodgers song, T for Texas, which is 1928. And then there's an orchestral jazz orchestral jazz piece, which is Making Whoopee by Eddie Cantor, which is a very famous song, and that had a very high production value. And they had him come back and sing that song. I think it was in a show in the 40s. And so they could actually like use film and do all of that kind of stuff. Like quality film and all of that, because that was such a big hit. But the only African American to have a number one spot in this decade was Bessie Smith with her Downhearted Blues. I'm sorry, Al Jolson, you don't count. But the typical tune that you would see in the number one position would be a slow jazz tune, again keeping the trend of lead solo vocalists, although this time much more women in this, and by that I mean 3. But still dominated by white men. But just going through all the songs real quick, we have Sweeney by Al Jolson. We have I Ain't Got Nobody by Marion Harris, and Marion Harris came up in the last decade. That one is a typical slow jazz tune. You have My Man by Fanny Brice. Again, that is more of a low, slow tune. She is more of a lower voice, if I remember correctly. So you could classify that as like slow jazz, maybe blues. Downhearted Blues, of course, is just a blues tune. Then you have Rhapsody in Blue, George Gershwin. That I believe might have been solely instrumental. Might be wrong on that. Then you have Sweet Georgia Brown by Ben Burney, and that one was more similar to swing and more upbeat jazz, and that became a really famous tune. It would later be performed by Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, and Duke Ellington, which are 3 of the most famous names in jazz. And
some of them ever. Ella Fitzgerald is huge.
Absolutely. And what's actually interesting is another very, very famous name in jazz that didn't hit a number one spot here. Louis Armstrong was also getting very big during this time, but he never hit a number one spot. was Fats Waller, which is one of my favorite blues musicians of all time. He's incredible. He's a very good voice, and he's very good at playing the piano. And I'm not the only one who thought that. Another man who thought he had a very good voice and was very good at playing the piano was Al Capone, who was also getting very big in the 1920s in Chicago.
Yeah.
So in 1926, Fats Waller got kidnapped for 3 days so he could play at Al Capone's birthday party. And he was apparently treated very, very well by the mob. He was paid and he was fed, and they returned him after Al Capone was done with his birthday party after 3 days.
They couldn't have just, like, hired him?
Nope. Al Capone
because we're the mob.
Yep.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it the mob way. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right?
Exactly. You know Fats was playing his heart out. He was going so hard. Oh my god, it's one of my favorite They stole
him.
It's crazy.
They picked him up, plopped him down at the piano seat, and said, "Go."
That's literally exactly what they did. And Al Capone was just a huge fan of his, as were a lot of people. And I think he hit a number 2 spot somewhere in one of these years, as did Louis Armstrong, I'm pretty sure. And Louis Armstrong was always hovering, not near the top 10, but I would say maybe like 20s, 30s. So still a lot of fame, but he didn't hit the number 1 spot. But yeah, all in all, I would say again, music is this one. It was honestly more of a slower decade, because most of these are slow tunes, but the style of swing, you can trace its origins back to this decade, especially with Sweet Georgia Brown.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting compared to like what you are taught about the 1920s, about like the raucous, like roaring 20s. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
all of the number 1 ones are pretty. Most of them, at least, are pretty slow. But then
I also find it interesting how many, like, which songs have staying power.
Yep.
How like most of these aren't like really known today.
Bye Bye Blackbird and Sweet Georgia Brown.
Yeah, but like, just I mean most, right? Yeah. And I also mean the last 2 decades as well. Whereas songs that didn't reach the number 1 spot during these time periods were also like probably more famous now than a lot of the number 1 songs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like the artists too that didn't reach number 1, more famous than the ones that did. And that's sort of like, it sort of makes sense in a way, because it's like, what's the most popular song in 2021 isn't necessarily gonna still be enjoyable to people in 2050. Whereas maybe like if you go down the list, maybe like, oh, the 17th song is like super popular in the 2050s, So that is sort of interesting.
And it was also much harder for a lot of those musicians. Like, I mean, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, and Ella Fitzgerald, they're all African American. And, they tell countless stories of just being, obviously discriminated against. It was still a very racially charged time period. Ella Fitzgerald in general, or in specific, was very highly discriminated against because she was both African American and female. So it actually took Marilyn Monroe to kind of vouch for her. And the two of them were friends, which is a historical fact I love.
Didn't she say something about like Marilyn Monroe wasn't going to perform somewhere if Ella couldn't?
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And she inspired Ella to kind of stand up for herself more. So Ella never played at a segregated event again. She would always ensure that, everyone, regardless of race, could have equal seating and all of that, and everyone had equal access to water and stuff like that. But just finishing off the list, Bye Bye Blackbird, Gene Austin. That one, again, slower tune. Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael, slower tune. T for Texas by Jimmie Rodgers. That is country music. And it's actually pretty similar to the country music that we have now. if you haven't noticed, country music has not evolved. This tune actually did have staying power because it would later be played by Leonard Skinner, the guys that sang Sweet Home Alabama and Free Bird. And then you have Makin' Whoopee by Eddie Cantor, which that was like a more orchestral jazz piece and had very high production value. But yeah, man, one of my favorite decades in American history. A lot of great literature coming out and a lot of great innovations like radio. Really making
I
this
would
decade
like to point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
2 things. One, the 3 women on the on the records that were top of the year. You will notice that the hair is short and they have very similar dresses. That's very, very common for the 1920s. You think about like the flapper dresses and the very, very short hair that kind of started around this time. So that's interesting that you see that in all 3 of them.
Yeah.
Also, Eddie Cantor looks like he's turning around to make someone shut up with his eyes. He looks like he's going, "Shut, don't, stop, now." You know?
Yeah, I watched the 1940s production of that song with him, and he's a really good entertainer. Like, he was moving like nobody's business. He was good. But yeah, 1920s.
That freeze frame reminds me of Mr. Bean.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So next we get the 1930s. So think about everything you know about the 1930s, right? And now think about what a song about the 1930s might be. All right, so the first song in the 1930s, number 1 hit of the year 1930, "Happy Days Are Here Again" by Ben Sylvan, or sung by Ben Sylvan.
So great.
So, yeah. So this is, it's kind of like an ironic song to be the number 1 at the start of the Great Depression. But there are some interesting features of this song. So FDR used this song as his like campaign song. And I guess in the past, like you used to have campaign songs. I wish they'd bring that back. They don't have campaign songs anymore. They just have campaign slogans now. But yeah, so it's like "Happy Days Are Here Again," and it's like optimistic song, and it's supposed to be like FDR used it as this is what will happen if I get elected. So yeah. But I guess people liked this song just sort of out of optimism too, because again, stock market crashes in 1929. It takes a little while for unemployment to actually go up. And at the very start of the Great Depression, it's like, you're not necessarily thinking, oh yeah, this is going to last for like 5-6 years. You know, you're thinking like, oh, yep, depressions, recessions happen often. So there's more like optimism to be had, but that sort of like melts away. The next few
gradually
songs,
just kind of like, never mind.
Yeah, the next few songs have like sadder tones and like subject matter. So you've got Stormy Weather. Or wait, sorry, I skipped a few. You've got Minnie the Moocher, Cab Calloway, and his Cotton Club Orchestra. We should have talked about that in the 1920s, but the Cotton Club is like an actual place. It was in New York, and that was like where like a lot of Harlem Renaissance singers like performed. But it was like strange because the patrons, like only white people were allowed in the audience, but then most of the performers were African American. Did you learn about the Cotton Club in history?
No.
You ever heard of it?
No, but I found it. I didn't learn about it in history, but I know about it. I forget why. But
a
I
lot
do
of these
know
jazz singers sang there.
Sorry to go off topic for a second. I just panicked because I was like, oh no, I haven't been reading chat. We're not live. It's
There is no chat.
It's a farce.
Yeah. It's
it's the instinct. It's ingrained in your memory now.
Yeah.
You're on autopilot, my guy.
Sorry about that.
Anyway, yeah. So that song's got like a slower, sadder tone. Then you've got "Night and Day" by Fred Astaire and Leo Reisman, which is from a Broadway play about like this guy who like meets a girl and then is like in public, like a stranger, and she like leaves or something, and he like doesn't get her number, but then he's like her divorce attorney. Like he finds out like a few like scenes later, he's like, "Oh, you're my client, and I'm your divorce attorney." And so I don't know what the result is,
bro.
I don't know if they live happily ever after. But
he was in there. He's like, "So I know you're single."
Yeah, exactly. So the play is called Gay Divorce, as in like a good divorce rather than
happy.
like
because there wasn't gay marriage for there to be a gay divorce.
So you can't have gay divorce. Yeah, exactly. So
preemptive gay divorce, as in like like almost a century preemptive.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that one's also somber. This particular song from the play is also somber. Then you have "Stormy Weather" by Ethel Waters, and I like this one. So this one was performed at the Cotton Club, and it has like a somber tone, and it's like, you know, the song like literally speaks of like, oh, I wish it were sunny again, you know, like brighter days, literally, metaphorically, and it's like about a breakup. It's like a breakup song, but again, it's also, you know, Great Depression. So then you get "Moonglow" by Benny Goodman. So this is a jazz song, and it was considered a slow foxtrot. And it has like syncopation and stuff in it. So it's like a little bit brighter. Like it's not outright like a negative, like sort of sad song, but it's not like entirely like jumpy and energetic either. So sort of like a guarded optimism, like depression, Great Depression is so slowly alleviating. But yeah, so then you get "Cheek to Cheek," Fred Astaire. This is written for the movie Top Hat, and this one is definitely a lot bouncier and happier because they're like, you know, dancing cheek to cheek is what the like lyrics are. Then you get "Pennies from Heaven" by Bing Crosby, and it is written for the movie Pennies from Heaven, so same name. And it's not as happy as the previous song. This is an interesting movie. I forget the plot exactly that I read about this one, but it's like there's an orphan, and like the main character's like a social worker, and like puts the orphan in like a home or something like that. I forget exactly what it was, but it's like not a happy movie necessarily, because it's like it's Great Depression. I mean, Pennies from Heaven, like that's just sort of the title sort of says it all about the Great Depression. You know what I mean? Like
it's about a death row inmate.
Oh, it is. I gotta look it up then. I might be getting my stuff mixed up here, but oh yeah, he tries to help the other inmate like right the wrong that he did, right? Yeah, you've got two criminals in jail, right?
One of them is falsely accused.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, it's like it's not a happy movie necessarily. I mean, presumably
it's labeled as a comedy, so
labeled as a comedy. So that's the best you get for comedy in the Great Depression. But yeah, so then we've got.
Oh, actually, wait. Can I cut in for 2 seconds?
Yep.
Speaking of labels, if you look up Fred Astaire, I'm pretty sure someone can check me on this, but I'm pretty sure if you look up Fred Astaire, he shows up as a dancer, not a musician.
Interesting.
He was more known for like the 30s tap dancing, spinning around with the cane and the top hat.
Interesting.
Well, he performed with Audrey Hepburn a lot. Very big character, I would say, from the 1930s. Same with Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby would go on to dominate the 1940s. But
yeah,
definitely got his start in the 1930s.
Yeah. So yeah, then the next song is "Sing Sing Sing" by Benny Goodman. Mm-hmm. I really like this song. I think I've heard it before, like researching this. It's very recognizable. Lots of brass, very upbeat, and it's just a very positive song. I'm not sure if I got to any lyrics. Like, I'm not sure if there are any lyrics, but I didn't get to any.
It'd be really funny if a song called "Sing Sing Sing" didn't have any.
You're
lyrics.
right. I think there are lyrics actually, but it's got a long intro, and for some reason, the start sort of sounds like the Bowtie Cinemas song. If you've ever been to Bowtie Cinemas, it's like at the start you've got like the big drum percussion, like the da 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 da, and then it goes into all the brass instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Da, da,
there's a lot of scatting, but there are lyrics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there are lyrics. Yeah, it's like da 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 da. Yeah, I like it. Highly recommend.
It
to like
fun.
Go look it up and listen to it, because I'm not going to sing it. 1, copyright. 2, I'm not going to be very good at singing it.
You're not going to get copyrighted for singing this song.
I don't know. This is 1937 at this point.
No, I mean, you're literally not going to get copyrighted for singing the song. You get copyright for playing it.
Oh, interesting.
Unless you're going to be making money off of this, off of the recording.
Oh, yeah. Anyone want to hear my cover of my a cappella cover of "Sing Sing Sing"?
Let's hear it.
No. We're good. You only get 5 seconds. You only got 5 seconds.
You give it to us.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I will end this. No, I'm joking.
I will end this live stream. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyway, so next you have "Begin the Beguine" by Artie Shaw. He wrote it while he was on a cruise. So yeah,
I read that as Penguin.
Begin the Penguin.
Begin the Penguin.
Yeah, happy song, and the depression is like mostly alleviating at this point, because at this point this is now lead up to World War II, and so we're getting that good like weapons money. We're just selling weapons to Europe, and we're getting that good weapons money. So, so everyone's happy about that. Then 1939, you get "Over the Rainbow." Judy Garland, so from The Wizard of Oz.
I love that song so much.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
So, FBI's kicking down your door as we speak.
Yeah. No, it's one. You get one lyric. You get one like line. That's what you're allowed to do.
That's one of two like slow, pensive rainbow songs that I really like.
Yeah. So
one of them is "Over the Rainbow" by Judy Garland. The other one is "Rainbow Connection" by Kermit.
That's what I was just thinking
Kermit.
of.
Yeah.
I love that song.
That's interesting.
With my whole heart.
Yeah. Now, even though this song is slow and pensive, like it's still like optimistic, like the lyrics, it's like, so yeah, it is interesting. So the Depression era, interesting decade, 1930s. Yeah.
On to the 1940s. So, 1940s, World War II. Not fun, guys. Not
fun.
Not poggers.
Yeah. Once that
World
sweet
War
weapons
II,
money
not
stopped
poggers.
rolling in.
Understatement of the century.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but
not poggers.
Took you out there. So I would say that this decade is where everything kind of came together, as in orchestra and jazz and like quartets and like strings, everything came together. So very high production value on these, even kind of to today's standards, high production value. like I said earlier, Bing Crosby absolutely dominated the 1940s. He only got 2 number 1 spots, but it was hard to find a decade where he wasn't in the number 2 spot at least. So, absolutely the biggest singer from the 1940s. Still, I would say very famous today. If, you're into old music, either Bing Crosby is one of your favorite singers or he inspired one of your favorite singers. He's such a big guy, or a big figure. So just going through it, we start with In the Mood by Glenn Miller. It is fully instrumental, so no leading vocals on this, which would be strange for the time period, but not out of the question.
Mm-hmm. I really like this song, and it makes me think of Stephen King's book 11/22/63, because this song is like referenced multiple times. It's like a motif in the book almost, like that they're just like playing in the mood. And it's just a good song. It's like a dancing song.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I remember the characters were like doing the swing dance.
Yeah.
Like for it, they were using this song to learn how to swing dance, some of the characters. So, yeah.
It's very uplifting and it's a very fast tune and a recognizable melody that it keeps going back to. Mm-hmm. Next up, also by Glenn Miller, Chattanooga Choo Choo. A lot of brass. And in the beginning they used brass to mimic the sound of a train, which is interesting. That kind of, for lack of a better term, esoteric instrument playing is something that I always love, which is why I love artists like Eddie Van Halen or Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails. They often use their instruments to sound like other things, which I always find really cool. So
I love practical effects in music.
Absolutely. That's a much better word for it. Esoterically playing your instrument.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say onomatopoeia. So.
Jesus, we're all over the board today. God, thank you, Camilla, for throwing us life rafts.
Yeah, I was like, I thought of it, and then I was like, yeah, I shouldn't say it. It's not, it doesn't work, but...
You can't, say onomatopoeia and then expect respect.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
Well, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But...
Now you owe me 2.
I do owe you 2.
Specifically 2, because this one is 1, but we're gonna talk about the Vaseline.
I mean, that's how you warm up your vocals, right? Before you sing. Just some Vaseline down the old pipe.
The old pipe.
Is that how you sing so well? Is it because you chug Vaseline before a performance?
I really, really, really hope not. Because it would be news to me.
Ancient technique.
Fun fact. Did you know that the average person consumes 8 jars of Vaseline in their sleep?
Yeah, that's the issue. Is because we should have taken the median, not the average, because the average is thrown off by Camilla.
Oh boy.
Consumes them on a regular.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh no.
Sidebar.
That would imply that Camilla consumes 64 billion jars of Vaseline.
She sings really well. It might be true.
I'll be back. I'm gonna go take on some Vaseline.
Oh no.
Sidebar, didn't the inventor of Vaseline actually eat Vaseline for a while?
I wouldn't be surprised. Have you seen Vaseline? No.
Yeah, but then he lived to 90 and he beat tuberculosis or something.
Dude, nothing wants to live in that. Nothing wants to survive in a body that eats Vaseline. Not even the body.
Yeah. That's fair.
The tuberculosis.
Are you speaking from experience?
Would you like to?
I mean, I'm gonna be completely candid. I now want to eat Vaseline.
Jesus Christ! Please do not.
Yeah.
In any case,
this is not gonna become another Jade situation.
I have it right here.
Don't.
I have. Where are you?
Do not.
Snack.
No.
Oh
Snack.
No.
In any case, Bing Crosby dominated the 1940s. In 1942, he released White Christmas. Yes, it is that White Christmas song. Everyone knows it. So, you know, slower, low vocals. And that's the other thing, is that people would fall in love with low vocals, low male vocals. And I think Bing Crosby really, like, he definitely didn't start it, because it most likely started with African-American jazz artists who would typically have very low tones, very, like, you know, like baritone, all that kind of stuff. I know 0 other terms. So there's things like that. But Bing Crosby, yes. But then there's I don't know.
Tenor is.
Is it high pitched?
Tenor is
oh no, I got it wrong.
Male voice equivalent of soprano.
Ah, okay. Well,
what's the
so
lowest?
it would be bass or baritone usually.
Oh, bass. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, dude, hold on. Just if Bing Crosby is baritone, the dude on the end, Vaughn Monroe. If that's how you say it, if that's a G, it's also in my notes. Vaughn Monroe has like a ridiculously low voice. He is bass. He's crazy, but
100%. Oh my god, 100%. Yeah, no,
you know that guy?
I know that song.
Yeah, that's a very famous song. But yeah, so low male vocals, very popular in the 1940s, would spill over to the 1950s. We all know Frank Sinatra, who was also getting very famous in the 1940s. He appeared in a bunch of movies around that time, I believe. That might have been the 50s. But, you know, low male vocals, that's definitely one of the biggest things.
I could wax poetic about Frank Sinatra's voice.
I like Frank Sinatra.
I honestly don't like his voice. I'm gonna be real. I
like the song at least that he sings. But
yeah, it's smooth. It's really, really smooth. It's pretty.
Yeah, like he's obviously one of the masters at it. But it's just I don't really like
to
his
each their
music.
own.
Exactly. But I don't diss anyone that listens to Frank Sinatra. Not at all. You have next up 1943 Paper Doll, the Mills Brothers. Again, very suave, low leading voice. Bing Crosby again. And in this year, he also held the 2nd and 3rd place on the charts. So when I say he dominated the 1940s, it was like it was no one could come close to him. Like not even Frank Sinatra could come close to Bing Crosby in the 1940s. He was popping off. But yeah, again, low voice. Sentimental Journey, Les Brown and Doris Day. Very famous World War II song. And this one actually has leading female vocals. Les Brown is on the piano in this song, I believe, where Doris Day is on the vocals. And this is one
and yet Doris Day is the smaller picture.
Yeah, Les Brown, definitely ego issue right there. But, you'll find this song in a lot of World War II documentaries. Depending on how old your grandparents are, this is probably somewhere in their house. This album, very famous World War II song. am horrible with a mouse, as I'm clicking every wrong button. Next up, Prisoner of Love, Perry Como. Very, again, suave leading vocals with an orchestral accompaniment. And that's the other thing, is that you start getting solos happening, and solos most famously start happening in jazz. Off the top of my head, Miles Davis, 1950s to 60s, Duke Ellington, a little earlier.
Usually brass or piano.
Usually brass or piano, exactly. Occasionally a clarinet solo. Looking at Mr. Benny Goodman on that one. But the birth of solo started here, and I believe there is a piano solo in that song. But then you have Near You, Francis Craig. This dude sounds exactly like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. Oh no, this is the one. This is the one with the piano solo. But that Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin voice, again, very popular here. Buttons and Bows, Dinah Shore, obviously female leading vocals, and that's a country song. It is a very countryish twang. And then you get Riders in the Sky by the man with the lowest voice on the planet, Vaughn Monroe.
Ghost Riders in the Sky.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I saw it both ways. So I don't know if it was published both ways, but sure. Ghost Riders in the Sky. It's the cowboy song. Like, if you think of stereotypical cowboy music that's not from Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it's this song.
Yeah.
I would sing it, but I would need to hit puberty again, and I can't get my voice down that low. I think I do all right with my voice right now, but I would need to double it in depth to hit Vaughn Monroe levels. But that would be, like, not even James Earl Jones could fucking pull it off, man. This dude's speaking voice must have been horrifying. It
depends with bass voices. Sometimes you can't tell.
Really?
Yes. If it's like a really deep bass, you can tell.
I would believe that Vaughn Monroe sounded like Satan.
Sometimes it's difficult to tell. Oh, I just got really close to my mic. Sorry about that. If that hurt, but
that didn't peak.
It's difficult to tell sometimes. Whether someone is a baritone or a bass from their speaking voice, because I know I have a high voice, but it's not that high in my speaking voice. Because everyone speaks in their chest voice. Yeah. So my highest note is probably about 2 octaves above middle C. But I talk like this, so it's not always evident from speaking voice what someone's range is.
Sure.
Unless you're like Avi Kaplan, in which case you can tell.
But yeah, 1940s, low, suave vocalists.
Yeah.
The 1950s.
All right, 1950s. So the first 2 songs are by Nat King Cole, Mona Lisa, and Too Young. And so these are both love songs. The first one was written for the movie Captain Carey USA, and it's like a slow and thoughtful love song. The second one, orchestral. It's about young love. It's like They Say That We're Too Young. And it's happier tone, but both of these songs are not rock and roll songs. And it's interesting, rock and roll took a bit longer, took to the second half of the decade before it was really popular enough to get #1 spots. And this is interesting just in sort of historical terms, is that rock and roll music used to be the edgy, weird music, oh, the kids are listening to rock and roll in the 50s. Parents were oh, it's satanic. You could probably find tabloid headlines from the New York Post that are in the 50s that are oh, is rock and roll music corrupting your
Yeah.
kids, or like,
And
is it
Yeah.
satanic?
And I love
Like-
you go back, you compare rock and roll to like metal of today's era, and it's like
It's
these
the
parents
funniest
were
thing.
calling Elvis just dicking around on stage,
Yeah.
being like talking about like surfing or whatever the hell,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
Tennessee or whatever the hell he talks about, and they're like, it's the devil's work.
It's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, it is really interesting. But yeah, so then you get "You Belong to Me," Joe Stafford. It's like a upbeat romantic song, and it's got like a tropical flair. Like a lot, like the lyrics are also like, I forget exactly, but it's like talking about like Hawaii and like Africa and stuff like that. So it's like a tropical song too. So it uses like tropical instrumentation, which is interesting. And yeah, it's just a lot of love songs here, because we get to the next one, that is "Vaya con Dios," Les Paul and Mary Ford. So this one isn't actually sung in Spanish for the most part, other than the titular lyric of "Vaya con Dios," but otherwise it's like not sung in Spanish. And this is another love song, and yeah, just 50s. They really like wholesome love songs at the start here. Then you get Mr. Sandman, the Chordettes, 1954. Classic. Need I say anything? That's what I put in the notes. But yeah, classic 50s song. I mean, it's a song that sort of encapsulates the 50s, because you think like Back to the Future. What song did they use to signify that, like, oh, he's traveled back to the 50s? They used this song, Mr. Sandman.
Mr. Sandman,
Yeah.
man me a sand, make him the sandiest
no.
man ye sand.
Yes. That the stroke version, but yeah. Yeah, it's also a love song though, because like, bring me a dream.
Yeah,
The dream being
Mr.
like
Sandman.
a boyfriend,
Or, no.
essentially.
Yeah.
Not tech. I mean,
That's what the Chordettes. The song
Yeah.
switches, but yeah, like it switches genders. But when the Chordettes are singing it, it's like they're asking for a man. So yeah. Then you get "Rock Around the Clock" by Bill Haley and his Comets. So this is a rock and roll song, as the title might suggest. Rock Around the Clock. And this song really popularized rock and roll, like made it mainstream in the first place. So that was important. But yeah, as you would expect from a rock song, it's like a fun, punchy beat, and it just like sounds like an archetypical rock and roll song. Like if you were to say, like, can you come up with an example of a rock and roll song, or like, what does a rock and roll song sound like? I would think of what this song sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you have "Que Sera Sera" by Doris Day, and that means whatever will be, will be. And this is also a song not sung in Spanish. I don't know if like I'm just not seeing the original versions that are sung in Spanish, but when I just like look up the title of the song by Doris Day, it's like not sung in Spanish. So I don't know. Maybe it's like my location settings or something. But anyway, as far as I can tell, not recorded in Spanish, other than the line "Que Sera Sera," and it's basically about like the unpredictability of life, but it's like, oh, just, you know, whatever happens. Like it's like a go with the flow kind of song, and it's a pretty happy song. It's like, when I was young, my mother told me "Que Sera Sera." Like, so yeah, it's a good song. Then you get Elvis Presley,
It's
Jailhouse
an "It
Rock.
Is What It Is" song.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Elvis Presley, Jailhouse Rock. This is another rock and roll song. And of course, Elvis Presley, most famous rock and roll musician, pretty much at this point. So yeah. And this is interesting. I like this song. It was used in a movie of the same name, Jailhouse Rock, and it's just an upbeat song, and it starts with like, "The warden threw a party in the county jail." So that's the start of the song. That's the premise here. So it's going to be fun. You know, you're in for a good time when the warden throws a party in the county jail. Then you get "Tom Dooley" by the Kingston Trio. And this song, is like a North Carolina folk song, interestingly, and it's like a murder ballad. Makes me think of like the Billy the Kid song, but it's got like a darker tone to it because this guy is Dooley, or so it's pronounced Tom Dooley in North Carolina, but the name is spelled like Tom Dula. And this was an actual guy that like murdered a woman in 1866. And the song is set in like he's about to hang for his crimes. So
Damn.
pretty intense song, but it's just like it's a bit of a dark song, but it's like,
If they didn't like Elvis in the 50s, I wonder how they felt about that.
yeah, exactly. But it's a folk song though, so it's a North Carolina folk song, so I don't know.
Up is
There's,
down.
like, a
Moving
folk
on.
story at least. Yeah, exactly. Then Mac the Knife, Bobby Darin, 1959. This is an interesting song because it was actually written in 1928, but it was sung by Bobby Darin and like repopularized. And this makes me think of the nostalgia cycles that exist. So people say that apparently like in the 1950s, media, celebrities, songs, politicians would try to harken back to the 1920s as like, oh, look at those good times. Like, if you're a politician, it's like, that's what I'm gonna ensure, that it's the 1920s again, it's gonna be great. And if you're like in the media, it's like, oh, remember the 1920s, weren't those a fun time? And so, but this is interesting because then when you get to the 1980s, then the 1980s is sort of romanticizing the 1950s and being like, oh, weren't the 1950s so cool? And now, I mean, look at Stranger Things on Netflix. Now we love the 80s. So it's like the cycle here. So I imagine this song was sort of like a nostalgia song, like riding on that wave. But yeah. So that's the 1950s. Pretty like wholesome songs generally, other than the Tom Dooley murder song. But it just got a lot of love songs, like generally upbeat, and then rock and roll, which is like just great. So yeah, 1950s.
On to the 1960s. This is Elvis versus the Beatles. This is split in half, with Elvis, taking the first half and the Beatles taking the second half. So, to start off, guys, Elvis has the dumbest face. I swear to God. He just looks like a man of such low intelligence. Like, sure, call him musical genius. You look at that face and tell me that man doesn't know what the hell is going on. He's just...
Interesting.
His mom gave him a guitar and gave him a nice suit and told him to stand there and play. And by God, he did. And Jesus Christ, did people love him more than Jesus Christ? Because, I mean, think about like that. Like, I keep seeing this fact, especially now because we're in COVID, when people were getting skeptical of vaccinations during this time period. Elvis got vaccinated against chickenpox, I think it was, around this time period. And because he did that, the vaccination, percentage of people that got vaccinated jumped from, 42% to, 86%. So it was, a ridiculous jump because people were like, oh, well, Elvis got a vaccine, so...
Idol culture mixed with mob mentality is a terrifying power.
Honestly, dude.
It is interesting. They tried to do that like a few months back with they got Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Obama, and I'm like, sorry, the three of you combined, you don't match Elvis.
Yeah, they really don't.
Nah.
Because and Elvis didn't know what the hell was going on. They had him sit in a chair. He's like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on." And then someone just stuck him with it. He was like, "Oh, that hurt." And then he just goes back up and he just keeps strumming his guitar like the dumb log.
Was Elvis actually dumb?
I don't know. He just looks dumb, and I've always thought this, and I've never had an outlet. But it's just
I've never had an outlet. It's all coming out now.
I don't
the
know,
vent.
man.
Years of repression.
You know what's throwing me? I completely forgot that people used to do the 2-night thing with the dash in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you lonesome?
Yeah, and
tonight?
2-Morrow. Yeah, that used to.
It's throwing me because my brain keeps pausing.
Yep.
But,
Are you lonesome tonight?
Literally. That's literally what's happening to me, though.
So
is the thing.
Yeah, that was the top song in 1960, of course, by Elvis Presley. Then we have "Let's Twist Again" by Chubby Checker. Very like similar. Like this, the 60s. It was all pretty much upbeat. Like occasionally, John Lennon would have a stroke, or like Paul, or Paul would want to do something weird. But so like really the only slow, very famous tunes you're gonna hear are coming from the Beatles. Everything else is gonna be fast, upbeat. You're gonna like it's gonna make you want to dance. Like he's saying, "Let's twist again," like the dance move, the twist. Then
I'll be right back.
It's all good. Then you got Speedy Gonzales by Pat Boone, upbeat. And then another Elvis one, and again, he looks so absent-minded. He looks like someone just handed him a guitar, and he's like, I know how to use this. And I know that's the worst Elvis impression ever, but man. But yeah, number one song again, Elvis is just dominating the early 1960s. Then you get the Roy Orbison song of "Oh Pretty Woman." I think that's I don't know if that's like the Pretty Woman. Like I think it is. I think it is that song. I might be wrong. Let me know.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it's that song. I just saw the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even heard it yet, but I saw the lyrics.
So a very classic tune, still around. Yeah, this is where you're gonna start knowing these tunes is the thing. Then you get Rolling Stones in '65 with, I think that is their most famous song, with "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." So more, rock and roll. Like we could do an entire episode on the evolution of rock and roll to psychedelic rock to progressive rock to metal and all of that. It's this very long line of just evolution, and it all really started with jazz, to be honest. Especially psychedelic rock has a lot, which is my favorite kind of rock. It has so many roots in just jazz. But then Frank Sinatra.
That makes sense for how much you like jazz.
I do like jazz. I do like jazz a lot.
You like jazz?
I'll slaughter.
I had to say it. I'm sorry.
But Frank Sinatra finally got a number one with "Strangers in the Night" 1966. You get "A Whiter Shade of Pale" by Procol Harum in '67. And then the Beatles take the final two slots with "Hey Jude" and "Get Back." And I moved myself for the last one. Tell me, I saw this somewhere, so this is not my joke, but tell me that cover of "Get Back" doesn't look like the Beatles just threw you off that balcony and they know that they're too famous to ever get caught.
Yeah.
It does kind of look like that.
They're all looking down, smiling.
Crazy.
At you.
Why does he look like
POV, the Beatles just threw you to your death. Oh
POV, 3 of the Beatles plus Jesus just threw you to your death.
Yeah, no, that was when John Lennon was in his Jesus phase. John Lennon. Yeah. Go ahead.
The title of that 1967, "A Whiter Shade of Pale," just is incomprehensible. A whiter shade of pale. It would make sense to say a paler shade of white.
Yeah,
but
pale
now I'm just a whiter shade of pale. Yeah, pale's not a color. It's throwing me off.
It's throwing you.
I don't know if that's the point
pale
of the song.
is an adjective.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
I've never heard that
Anyway.
song.
See, Camilla, it throws you off too, right?
Yeah.
But
It's like, just don't think about it.
the yeah, like the Beatles only got the number ones in the final 2 years, but they were in like number 2, number 3 all throughout this decade. For example, with "Oh Pretty Woman" in 1964, the Beatles actually held the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, and 8th places on the Billboard that year.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely
Yep.
the decade of the Beatles. I mean, the Beatles,
Yeah.
probably the biggest band of all time? Question mark? But
Yeah.
if they're not the biggest band, they are one of them.
Yeah. And if they're not like numerically the biggest band, they are the best known.
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably.
But fun fact: John Lennon in his Jesus phase towards the really late 1960s, he like in his Jesus phase, he was a horrible person, which is a little contrary to him in his not Jesus phase when he was also a horrible person. But anyways, the 1960s was just absolutely a time of
I didn't know this about John Lennon. Do you have any? I'm curious. Like, do you have any stories on that?
Oh, absolutely. So John Lennon was just a douche. Like, and I think we can say that. And he was just like he beat his wife Yoko Ono, and he was just generally a misogynist. He was fairly racist. He released a lot of weirdly titled songs that I can't say the name of because I'm Caucasian. But
yeah, just look it up later. That's a later thing.
But
that's crazy for the guy that wrote Imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine there's no countries, and it's like, oh yeah, you'd like that, John Lennon? I mean, it says over here that
yeah. It
so
seems
weird.
like he's imagining pretty hard that there's divisions.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
society,
exactly.
you know. But my favorite Beatle is George Harrison. He was he is the pivotal. He is the pivotal hippie. He is awesome. He knew how to play all these different foreign instruments, and he wrote all the best songs with Paul.
Yeah, my favorite songs by the Beatles were written by
It's George.
Interesting.
Paul, I think Paul is the most creative of the Beatles. Anytime the Beatles did something weird, it was because Paul had an idea. And it was really interesting. Whenever they would let Ringo out of the freezer they kept him in, and he would try and like do a little dippy drum solo, and they're all like, "Yeah, Ringo!" And then he's like, "Yes, Ringo, play drums." I don't know why, but that's just how I imagine the Beatles with just John. You know. Like, am I wrong?
Accurate though.
Because
it's the name
accurate.
Ringo. It's the name Ringo that makes you think caveman.
It's not just that. I'm gonna look up the exact quote because I don't want to get it wrong. But...
Oh, I know exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Oh
give
my
me
God.
2 seconds.
Go ahead. Oh my God.
This might take me a minute. If you can keep going if you'd like.
The Beatles were just such an iconic band. And as Camilla's about to get to, each of them just played a very important part to the band, even though John Lennon was absolutely a horrible person. I don't think he deserved to be shot.
Yeah.
Like, there are very few people I think deserve to be shot. But apparently Holden Caulfield had different ideas for him.
So why? Oh yeah,
let's hear it.
I found the quote.
Let's hear it.
Lennon was the soul of the Beatles. Harrison was the spirit. Paul was the heart. And Ringo was the drummer.
Oh, wow. So fun.
Oh my God. Max, what were you saying?
What was the motivation of the killer?
He was schizophrenic, I believe, and he was very infatuated with the book Catcher in the Rye. So much so to the point that he believed himself to be the main character of that book, Holden Caulfield.
That's why they banned that book.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Because they were worried that the book had made him schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Which is like spurious correlation, right? Because I haven't read the book, but I don't think it's got much, like, isn't it just like some guy who's like just kind of a loser? Like, isn't that the book's plot? Like,
I have never read the book.
Yeah.
I read it so long ago that I don't remember. Also, I just found another quote that I forgot about, but I choked. Joseph, I think that says carrot. That's the worst font ever. Anyway, Ringo isn't the best drummer in the world. He isn't even the best drummer in the Beatles.
Oof. Wow.
I really want Ringo to be the last Beatles standing. Because everyone expected him to drop dead first. And if he survives longer than Paul McCartney, that vegetarian son of a gun, then I would be over the moon. I'd be over the moon, really. Wow. 'Cause that's just so funny. Watch Paul McCartney die during this stream. But
that would not be good.
Let's not speak that into existence. Anyway.
Yeah, I hate when that.
On a happier note, now I feel like we have to. Ringo Starr once said, "My soul is that of a drummer. I didn't do it to become rich and famous. I did it because it was the love of my life."
Oh.
Now let's move on, please.
1970s. 1970s. We got 1970, Let It Be by the Beatles, which they recorded and then all got really pissed at each other or something and broke up. I don't know the full history on that. And then a month later, they released it, which is like kind of... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
It was because Paul grew a beard. I don't know the real reason. But...
yeah.
Jesus, look at that thing. But...
Yeah, well, I feel like this is a, like... What's the word? Like a lucky song to come out at this time. Because it's like, let it be. So it's like, everyone's sad, like the band broke up, and they're just saying, chill out, let it be. It's basically Que Sera Sera again, because it's like, just let it be. Go with the flow. But yeah. And so, yeah, it starts out somber, the song. It's like, oh, sad things are happening. Then it gets happier because it's like, oh, let it be, let it be. It's fine. This is fine. That's basically the song's thesis. Then 1971, you got My Sweet Lord by George Harrison. So it's ex-Beatle, which is interesting. Even after the band broke up, they managed to get the #1 spot the next year.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Via George Harrison. So, yeah. It's like an upbeat song, and it's like it's about peace and like ending religious sectarianism and like blending different religions together. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool song. It's like combining all the different religious aspects. Like he uses a ton of references to like Hinduism and different religions in the song, just to be like, yeah. So, yeah, good song. Then you get American Pie by Don Mclean, which is one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song.
Really?
Yeah, I really like this song. It's my favorite song, I gotta say. The only other ones that come close are like Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys.
Very nice.
And
Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Yeah.
Actually, the Beatles went on record saying that the Beach Boys were the only band they were ever threatened by for like fame. I don't mean like held up in an alley. We all know how that went for John.
The Beach Boys are just like they just like barbershop quartet-esque music. Just like give us. your money.
I would just like to very quickly point out that apparently Paul sued to dissolve the Beatles.
Wow.
Dang.
And that
like, let me out.
I mean, you can tell all their personalities just from the cover of Let It Be. Like, you have John there. He looks like he's screaming at his wife from the mic. You got Paul there, who looks like he's just looking somberly off at his barber for allowing him to go up on stage like that. Ringo checked out 5 hours ago and is thinking about the ice cream he has back in his freezer that he is kept in. And George is just tripping off of every single pill he's ever found in any bathroom he's gone to. And so he's just fighting the dragon while everyone else is having a time. And God knows he's going to be writing the best song.
Paul McCartney made the announcement of the breakup and listed several reasons that contributed to their separation, including, quote, personal differences, business differences, musical differences, but most of all because I have a better time with my family, end quote.
Ooh,
wow.
Yeah. Just like toxic friend group, basically. That's sad.
Honestly.
But anyway, American Pie, 1972. So I really like this song because it's like a history ballad. And so it's basically like music history of the 1950s and 60s. If you interpret the lyrics, like the very metaphorical lyrics, but if you interpret them, they can basically be interpreted as what we've been talking about for the 50s and 60s. The most explicit reference is to The Day the Music Died, which is a reference to the 1959 plane crash where 3 rock and roll musicians like died in a small plane crash. And so that's sort of like that sort of cultural event is like a loss of innocence kind of thing. But yeah, it's a very good song. I just really like this song. Yeah, if you interpret, depending on how you interpret the metaphors, right? It references Elvis Presley. It references Bob Dylan. It references like Janis Joplin. Like all these different people. So yeah.
Bro,
I like it. Great song. And also, it's like 8 minutes long, so good song. I like. Anyway, 1973. This is like a love song, Angie by the Rolling Stones, and it's like a somber because it's like a past love. Then, 1974, we got Kung Fu Fighting, Carl Douglas, which is just a great song. Everybody was kung fu fighting.
Yeah,
very
it's
nice.
that
But
one.
how fast were their kicks?
As fast. Get this.
I'm on the edge
As
of
fast
my
as
fucking
lightning.
seat.
Yeah. Yep. As fast as lightning. But yeah, so during this time period, apparently there were a lot of movies that were like kung fu martial arts movies. What comes to mind is Karate Kid, but Karate Kid comes out later. But just a ton of like those themed movies. So this song sort of like capitalized on that. And it wasn't at first intended to like be a big hit, but then it was. And so it's a very energetic song, and
then
very
they put
popular.
it in Kung Fu Panda.
And then they put it in like kung fu movies, so Kung Fu Panda. So you've got Jack Black, and everybody was kung fu fighting. So that's great. And yeah, so the song uses what's known as like the Oriental Rift, which is like used to denote just China, like in any, which is, I don't know why it's called that, but it's called the Oriental Rift. And so it's like in any TV show, like if like the scene switches and it's like Beijing, China, it'll play the like da 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 da, like it'll play that. So like that is used a ton of times in this song, that riff. So yeah, so I like that song. Then you get 1975, I Can't Help by Billy Swan. So yeah, it's happy. It's got like a unique instrumentation at the beginning. and it's a country song. I also like that he has like an actual swan in a bathtub on this cover here. He's like, yes, it's a word play. My name's Billy Swan, and I've got a swan right in front of me. Isn't that cool?
In a bathtub.
Yeah. Then Dancing Queen by Abba. So this yep. So yeah, this is ABBA is a Swedish band. So this is a Europop song. So that's the interesting genre, Europop. And quite a few songs after this are like Europop songs, and I quite like it. But it was like Europop and disco music, like American disco music, like fusion. So that's how it got really popular in America, is that it was like a Europop and disco song. So mixing the styles became really popular. So it's like,
I used a quote from that song to on the day I turned 17. I just every person that wished me a happy birthday, I just went, I am the dancing queen, young and sweet, and then that was the end of the conversation.
Yep. Yeah, then we get in 1977, Hotel California by the Eagles. I really like this song too.
So much.
Yeah, I like this song. So this song features long electric guitar solos. I think half the song is electric guitar solos.
Yeah, there's a lot of instrumental in this song.
It's just constant, and it's great. I like it. So it is like...
Wait, how long is this song?
It's like 6
minutes. It's like 6 minutes long.
Yeah, it's a long song.
Yeah, it's great, though. So it's like, it's got a melancholy like tone because the song, and it's also like one of these metaphorical songs, but people interpret it as like the hollow life of like California musician, like typical sort of like, not Hollywood because it's like music world, but basically what people describe Hollywood as, just the sort of like hollow, like drugs and parties that like, LA, pretty much. So it's an interesting song. And yeah, it's rock song.
Some people also interpret it as like fame. It talks about you can come in anytime you like, but you can never leave. So like once your name is out there, you're stuck in the life that you have.
Yeah. All those themes sort of tied to like the like Hollywood is hollow trope, you know, where it's interesting, those tropes, because it's sort of like, it's very similar to the like New York stockbroker trope of like, but for the music world instead of just hollow, like making money, you know. It's sort of interesting that you have those two tropes for like LA and New York, the like hollow like lifestyle. It's like on the outside superficially glamorous, but then it's like actually not good. But yeah, 1978, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. Disco song, Saturday Night Fever. So it's very energetic, and the tempo gets the heart pumping, if you know what I mean. Reference to health class.
Max, I would like to submit my 2 weeks notice from the Gravity Max live stream.
Oh wow! Well, this episode is going to come out after. It'll be just like Let It Be from the Beatles. Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's a universal thing though, but in our health classes, they said if you're doing CPR, you're supposed to like sing "Staying Alive" in your head and like.
Because it's the
100 beats per minute.
The BPM is 100 beats per minute, so it's sorry, that's.
Now, I didn't entirely mean that as a bad like pun reference to health class, because there is actually like scientific evidence that music that goes at like 100 BPM, that is a little bit above resting heart rate, will get you to like start dancing. It's like, because it's intrinsically like psychologically like making you want to dance and move and get your heart rate increasing slightly, because it's like slightly above your resting heart rate of, which is like 60 to 70. So depending on the person. But yeah, then you get adrenaline. Then you get Heart of Glass by Blondie. So this is like a new wave disco song, and this is interesting. It's upbeat and energetic, and it has some like 80s style synth that
Yeah.
you would like associate with the 80s. So it's like a mix almost of a 70s song and an 80s song, and this is the 1979 top song. So it's like it's disco, but then you've got like synth on top, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Blondie's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love her music.
I love Blondie. I love Heart of Glass specifically, actually. Her voice on that is so pretty.
But yeah, 70s, great decade of music, gotta say. Anytime you see like an older person playing the guitar, they will probably be playing something from the 1970s.
Yeah.
That's typically where you're gonna get maybe some 80s, maybe some 60s if they're really old. But you know, any old head rock and roll dude, 70s. That is the pivotal
it makes
year.
Me think of Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. Like,
Yeah, I think that
I
came
forget what
out
year that is.
here.
That used to be my ringtone.
That came out in 76, so yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's
Yeah.
people like the guitar. Like the guitar on that song is like really like damn.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, so on to the 1980s, another one of my favorite decades for music and culture, not for other things that were occurring in the 1980s. But it starts off with one of my favorite bands of all time, Pink Floyd. I saw
Heck yeah.
someone categorize them as progressive rock, and while they're not wrong, they're wrong. Pink Floyd is the pivotal psychedelic rock. Also, if we go back to the 70s real quick, Jimi Hendrix was also making a very big name for himself, and like probably the most well-known name, well-known American name in psychedelic rock. And he derived a lot of his music from blues, and that's that callback to jazz of the 1920s. In fact, Jimi Hendrix is listed as a blues musician because of how much influence he took from that.
So
Yes.
I just looked it up. People call Pink Floyd prog light.
Horrible. Horrible.
I find that so funny. I don't know why. That's so entertaining.
So, yeah, Pink Floyd, your dad knows who this band is, and it is just it's an incredibly pivotal band. They have the third best-selling album of all time, which is Dark Side of the Moon, which was released in 1986, I want to say. Might be wrong, but here, can someone look that up for me, when Dark Side of the Moon was released? But
Okay, I'm on it.
that album is so popular, like third best-selling album of all time, losing first to Michael Jackson, Thriller, and
Oh, they say 1973.
1970?
Yeah, 73.
What was I
Wow,
thinking of?
73.
They did something else in 1986. 1973. Love them. But that album was so popular that currently, if you are in Britain, where the majority of the members of the band are from, or I think it might be the entire United Kingdom. If you are walking around in the United Kingdom and you go into someone's house, any person's house in the United Kingdom, completely random, there is a 1 in 3 chance that they have Dark Side of the Moon in their house on vinyl. That is how popular it is. There's literally a 1 in 3 chance that
It's a good album.
it's an incredible album. It is, you know, you can enjoy it with drugs, without drugs. They were on drugs when they made it. I don't know why I'm talking about it so much, because this is the 1980s, and this is The Wall, which is another fantastic album. But just absolute legends with what they were doing. The guitarist David Gilmour He's in the top 20 guitarists of all time. I think he should be in the top 10 guitarists of all time. But again, that's from Rolling Stone magazine. For reference, Jimi Hendrix is the number 1 guitarist of all time, which I agree with Rolling Stone on that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, David Gilmour, god damn it. Pink Floyd would be nothing without him.
Is the Rolling Stone magazine, I've always wondered, did the Rolling Stones band, like, start the magazine?
I actually don't know.
Because then they would be, like, a biased source there for, like, who's the best guitarist.
That's also very true, because I do think... Yeah, I do think the one of the guitarists from the Rolling Stones is pretty high up there. But, yeah, so Pink Floyd, man, it's really interesting that Dark Side of the Moon came out in 1973, because they are most typically associated with the 80s. So, I'm not sure why. When did Wish You Were Here come out? You were here. 1975. Yeah, I don't know.
I just realized something. Let me know when you get to 1981. I want to say something.
We are at 1981.
You don't want to talk more about Pink Floyd?
I mean, just what they were doing with their instruments would really make them one of the most defined bands of all time. That's what I have to say on Pink Floyd. Love them.
They're great. So, I just want to point out very quickly that 1981 was when Don't Stop Believing came out. And it's not on this list.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, so what did get the top spot was Bet Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes. I think it might also be
Betty
Carnes.
Davis.
Betty Davis. God damn it, sorry.
That's okay.
That makes more sense. But
she got Betty Davis.
Yeah. I don't know that song, which is probably why I pronounced it wrong. I also don't know
it's a good song. I think
Kim
you'd like that,
Carnes
actually.
Kim Carnes. Yeah, it's fucking 80s music, of course. Oh, jeez.
Well, no, I mean,
hold on.
specifically,
Wait, I
would...
dropped 2 F-bombs. We're gonna need to censor one of them in post.
Uh-oh.
I might have.
You're gonna have to
I don't
decide.
remember. I might
We're
have
not
said one
doing
also.
post. I don't want to download
like
200 megabyte like. No, it's like multiple gigs because this is hours long.
Yeah,
I'm not downloading and editing it.
Just forget I said anything. But
the first radar episode of the Gravity Max live stream.
Look at this. But then you get Eye of the Tiger from Survivor.
Yep. I love that song.
Yeah, Rocky, all that. Then you get what the hell is this? Flashdance, What a Feeling. Irene Cara, never heard it, but hey, people in the 80s did. This is literally 1984. And you have Careless Whisper by George Michael, which my gym teacher, whom Camilla, you know, as he was your yoga teacher, believes this song to be the best song to work out to. Like I was in a high performance fitness class, which means that we were power cleaning, deadlifting, bench pressing, and doing a lot of extreme activities with machinery and weights. And we listened to Careless Whisper every single class.
Oh my god! I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the
I like the song.
That's good.
Yeah.
The saxophone's good. But it's another one of those songs that's become a meme.
It is.
So. Yeah, I do not see that as a workout song.
No, it's not great. It's not great getting sweaty with your gym teacher to Careless Whisper in a small enclosed room. It's horrible.
Getting sweaty with your gym teacher is the worst way you could have possibly phrased that.
And
Congratulations.
You know who my gym teacher is. So now you can imagine him. Jesus.
Oh boy.
But anyways,
can we just I want to talk about Wham. Can we talk about Wham?
Wham. Then we get We Are the World. with USA for Africa. Then we get Take My Breath Away by Berlin. I love the movie Top Gun. It's so dumb, and it's just, I love it. It's just because they have two songs. The two songs you see on that poster, Berlin, Take My Breath Away, and Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone.
Yeah.
They're they play them so often. Like, to the point where it becomes a meme. Yeah, exactly.
I get into the danger zone.
Yeah,
Just alternating.
Oh my god. I listened to that song once. I grew a mullet. It was crazy. But, man, great song. Great love song. Trademark of that movie, which is why, obviously the Top Gun poster had to come in. Love that movie. But it's also a really good song. Then, I Wanna Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me, all that. You gotta love it, Whitney Houston.
I wanna dance with somebody. Yep. I love this song so much. This is the one I usually, speaking of workout songs, I usually would work out to like heavy, dirty bassline songs with that make you feel like you could fight everything and anything all at once. But this is the one song that isn't like that I would work out to, because it fills me with so much energy.
It's great, man. Whitney Houston, incredible voice. One of the most notable voices ever. Also, one of the most famous members of the 27 Club, other than Jimi Hendrix and Kurt Cobain. Really sad that she passed away at 27. But it's a really good song, and she was no stranger to top 5 in the charts for the latter half of the 80s. Phil Collins, Groovy Kind of Love. I think I know this song.
You probably
didn't get
do.
the chance to listen to it, but definitely
you probably know the song, not by you wouldn't be able to remember it, but it's the second you heard the first 3 notes you would recognize it.
Yeah. And then you got
that kind of song.
Madonna with Like a Prayer. Madonna would be very big, honestly, all the way out to the 2000s. So very iconic artist. Also notable is Michael Jackson, and I was surprised to not see him with any number 1 spots, but he was no stranger to a little lower on the list, and he does have the most he has the best selling album of all time with I believe it is Thriller, right? It's either Thriller or
probably
best selling album of all time. It is Thriller. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I doubted myself for a second.
I like how you neglected to mention what you put in 1987 there.
What's that?
What you added in the notes.
Oh.
The second, yeah.
Oh, I don't know what
you
that
see,
is.
You got me with this, but at the same time, right? At the same time, I actually like the song. So it doesn't really work on me, because I'm like, oh, yay, I'm listening to this song.
So, in case you haven't guessed with the fact that Max said got him, we are currently talking about number 2 on the charts in 1987, which was...
Just look it up. Just look it up. Just look it up. Just look it up.
Just look it up.
Just look it up.
Just look up number 2 on the charts in 1987.
And go to YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, go to YouTube and just hit the first result without even looking at it.
We'll leave a link in the description below.
We'll leave a link. Yeah, we'll leave a link in the yeah. You see, the interesting thing is that it was actually a popular song, and now it's just a meme.
Yeah.
But and we are never going to refer to this song except for in the description. I'm putting it in now, actually. Here we go.
Yeah.
I wonder if this YouTube video gets most of its views from unfortunate souls, if you know what I mean.
Poor
people that have gotten bamboozled. But anyway.
Yeah, so I love 80s music quite a bit.
Yeah.
It really it gets me grooving. But you know, big, I would say a very wide range, because this is when music starts to go in so many different directions. Like 1960s,
Yeah.
if you go back to that, I mean, it's everyone just being, you know, happy on stage, being like, and then Elvis is walking around clueless. He's like, I don't want to see my guitar, you know. And he's just going around. Man, he's so goddamn dumb.
Elvis himself would look around and say, "Hey, is that Elvis?"
I swear, that man. I don't know. I don't know if he's actually dumb.
He does
just
not
looks
know.
dumb. I don't know.
I bet he wasn't. That's gonna be my guess.
I don't know.
Mm.
I could see him being just a complete himbo energy.
I don't know. Aren't the
better people than myself?
I mean, aren't the like top singers? Don't they tend to like actually be smart? Like the most popular singers, just because it's like to run a business like that, it's kind of difficult.
Well, it depends. Sometimes the label kind of takes complete control.
Yeah, I guess it's fair. Like, I don't know. I feel like to market yourself and be like, oh, look at me, I'm like such a good singer. Because I think it's like equal parts marketing as it is like actually being good.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta know how to play the game at least. So you gotta be like street smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing that I looked it up, and the first thing that came up that was notable was Hillbilly Elvis, how 50s journalists dumbed down Presley.
Oh, so maybe he's actually smart.
And the other two links down was Elvis Presley and Racism, the ultimate definitive
Jesus
guide.
Christ. Elvis.
And no, listen. You know how there's like a little like tag thing up above the link?
Mm-hmm.
The tag is Elvis not racist.
Okay. Interesting.
Anyway.
On to the 1990s, which we are currently in 90s nostalgia for the decade we are.
Oh yeah.
So everyone eat up on your 90s nostalgia.
Eat up on 90s nostalgia.
I've been in 90s nostalgia since I learned how to listen to music. But
fair.
I wonder if Stranger Things season 4 will be in the 1990s, just to capitalize on it. Sweet 1990s nostalgia, but we shall see.
The nectar of the gods.
Yeah, I mean, Stranger Things is just the archetypical 80s nostalgia show. So
there's so many references in that show. So many.
Yep. And it's like it gets to a degree where you're like, is this really necessary? And it's like, yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah,
it's necessary
100%.
because that's the only reason the show is set in the 80s. Is because
the obvious
all
ones,
the marketing.
like there's the obvious ones like the Ghostbusters costumes, and then there's like the random small Goonies references. Like it's everywhere.
Yeah, and all the music is like But anyway, not to complain because I do actually like Stranger Things, despite the fact that I'm ripping on it. But yeah, so 1990s. The year 1990, we've got Nothing Compares to numeral U letter Sinead O'Connor. So it's like the spelling here is like somehow they got their hands on an iPhone like in the year 1990. But anyway,
to be fair,
this song was
a very 90s thing to do.
Yeah, this song is originally written by Prince, and it's like a sad breakup song. So, yeah, actually, since it's Prince sort of liked to do the things with the number. I mean, wasn't his name just like a symbol, like officially? Like his name was Prince, but like he would write it down as like a symbol, and like that symbol was supposed to mean Prince. So
yeah, it was the. I can't really describe it, but yeah, if you just look up Prince symbol, it'll come up.
Yeah. So
simplistic.
Yeah. Yeah, then we have I Do It For You, Bryan Adams. This is the aforementioned Robin Hood song. So, I don't know.
Indeed.
Well, is this just from a live action edition of Robin Hood, or is it from like is it from the Disney version?
You know,
Or
I actually don't know.
I think it's just I think this is just from this movie, right?
Most
I don't know.
of what I remember from Robin Hood is the cartoon, and it's the plot and some of the funnier quotes, and I really love that movie, but I actually don't really.
Well, because look at this. This is not like a Fox guy.
No.
This is like live action, so I don't know. Anyway, so soft rock, power ballad, and it's fairly somber though. So yeah, 1990s had like, I don't know, they weren't as like upbeat, I feel, as the 80s were. Then you have I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston.
And I'm not.
And not gonna do it. But yeah, that's a powerful song. So originally this was a Dolly Parton song. And so it's like a sad song, kind of like it's about a breakup, but then it's also about like, it's like, yeah, I feel like it's a sad song generally, but
yeah, but it's pretty.
Yeah, and it's also about sort of like, to a certain degree, like trying to move on, but anyway. Then you've got I Can't Help Falling in Love with You by UB40. So this is an interesting one because this is originally this is like the Elvis song, like that slow, like I can't help falling in love with you. But this like UB40 version, it's like modified into like a rap beat, and so it's like kind of like a little like happier than the previous songs here, but it's like I can't help falling in love. And it's like it's like a weird version of it, so it's interesting. Yeah, then you have The Sign by Ace of Base. And this is interesting. It's like, this is quote, it's referred to as a techno reggae Europop song.
Yeah.
So that's
is
I love that combination.
I saw the sign and it opened up my eyes. Is that?
I'm not sure. I listened to like the very beginning of it. And
or am I thinking of something else?
I don't know. I just heard the instrumentation at the beginning. But yeah, it's like upbeat and fun. Like it's interesting. I like this combination. I like the use. There's another song that like uses reggae later. That's in the 2010s. And I don't know. I like it. I like its use, like combined with other genres, is like pretty like it's a real, it's a bop, or I don't know. It's a jam. There you go. So yeah, so that's a good song. Oh yes, yeah, that's what you just sang. I think that
it's a fun song. I like the melody. It's interesting.
So then 1995 you get Gangster's Paradise by Coolio. So this is a good song. I like this song. It's like a powerful song in just the vibe that it's sending out. Like you've got those strings like that. And yeah, so it's a hip hop song and a rap song, and yeah, like a wide variety of instrumentation. I really like the strings, and then you've also got like the choir background, like the so it's like so much in this song, and it's very catchy.
Fun fact about Coolio: if you look at that album, you'll notice that he has a very strange hairstyle. He has two dreadlocks that stand up like horns.
Yeah,
he still has that hairstyle. And what he does when he wants to wear a hat is he will cut 2 holes in the hat and push that. And he is completely bald now, everywhere except the 2 locks. And he cuts
adapt, overcome
holes in his hat. He looks ridiculous. Like,
That
he
is
looks
so funny.
completely foolish. But it's iconic, to say the least.
That is
Improvise,
how
adapt,
that is how you secure your hat on your head in a strong gale.
Dude, no one can steal
Like,
Coolio's hat.
exactly.
That thing is secure.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep. So then, next up, in 1996, we've got Hey Macarena.
Oh my god. But elementary school in a song.
Yes.
That and
Los Del
Gummy Bear.
Rio. Oh my god, no. No. The
Oh,
Gummy
yeah.
Bear song, no.
Oh my god, to the left. Take it back.
Oh yeah. At least those are like real songs. I don't know, the Gummy Bear song. I cannot stand the Gummy Bear song. But anyway, Macarena.
I still have nightmares about that music video, man.
Yes. Yep. But yeah, this is a good song. Latin pop, dance pop. So it's a Spanish dance song. I mean, it's got like the song. I don't know if the people who wrote the song invented the moves to the song, but everyone knows the moves to the Macarena. Like, like, I mean, I don't know exactly, but it's just like you do this and like a ton of times. But
it's one of those things that you don't remember where you learned it, but it's there. The knowledge is there.
Like, everyone collectively knows the Macarena dance. Generally knows the Macarena dance. So it's one of those songs that has a dance that goes with it, which is like only a few songs can garner that sort of like power to be like, if you play the Macarena, like it's almost like mind control, right? Like if you play music, right? Some people might start to dance, some people won't, right? And they'll dance in all different ways. But if you play the Macarena, you'll get people start to do this and like whatever, and instantly. So
it's like riding. It sticks. It's like riding a bike or knowing that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It's cell. It's just there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, upbeat and energetic, meant for dancing. Great song. So, and still a classic to this day. Like they'll bust it out at like the teenage parties that they'll do, like the middle school dances.
The middle school dances,
they'll get that song going. But yeah.
I don't want to talk about middle school. Middle school dances when we were in middle school were like with a nay.
Yeah. I didn't really go to many middle school dances because I did not. I was just not into that. But yeah. 1997. So 1997, this is interesting. So this is Candle in the Wind by Elton John, except it's like the 1997 version. So this new version that Elton John wrote was a tribute to Princess Diana, who died that year. That car crash, which is like still a crazy thing that happened. They say like the paparazzi, like, yeah, like they say the paparazzi sort of like chased her to her death, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy, but yeah, that the car crash. And so since this was like a huge like event where people like got really sad about it, this song in tribute became popular. So it's like a solemn memorial song. And the original song is from 1973, and Elton John just basically gave it new lyrics that applied to Princess Diana and then re-recorded it. So yeah. Next we have My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which is from the Titanic movie. So it was written for the Titanic movie. It's not like it was just used in the Titanic movie, but for the Titanic movie. Yeah. So you've got that iconic like recorder intro. I mean, I don't know what instrument that is.
It's the penny
not
whistle.
To insult like. Okay. Not to insult the whistle. But yeah, the recorder. Everyone thinks about the meme version, the poorly played recorder version. But yeah, it's this song from the Titanic, and it's also like a sad tone because of the movie that it's used in and the historical event tied to that movie. So, yeah. Then we get to 1999. Baby One More Time, Britney Spears. This was her like part of her debut album, And so this is pop music. It's jumpy. It's got a techie beat. So yeah, I like it. Energetic song.
Britney Spears is incredible.
Hmm.
Been a big fan of her music for quite a while now. It gets me moving. It gets me grooving. Honestly, bangers.
Mm-hmm.
Bangers. All of them.
Agreed.
Nice.
But yeah, 1990s, man.
Yeah.
90s, man.
Yeah, so surprisingly, Camilla, you were saying this before, that like there's not much grunge music.
Yeah, I
And,
was
like,
expecting more.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Smells Like Teen Spirit came third in 1992.
okay.
But so Nirvana was definitely the most popular grunge band, and is still the most popular grunge band of the 1990s.
Or at least the most known.
That's what most popular means. But
No. That just means most popular means most liked too. It's a positive connotation.
That's fair.
Well, I guess it's also just sort of popular more means at the time, and known means like now,
That's
generally speaking, like how we're colloquially using it, but you know.
But in any case, the 2000s.
The 2000s.
Looking at this list threw me back in time so
Honestly. So
oh my god.
we start off with Madonna, who we first saw all the way back in the 80s. So it's really impressive that she is able to get number one spot in the 80s and a number one spot in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Then we have Can't Get You Out of My Head by Kylie Minogue? I don't know. Kylie. And then Lose Yourself by Eminem. You know, most controversial artist of yeah, exactly, of the 2000s. 8 Mile. Somehow he won an Oscar for 8 Mile.
Wait,
like, I like
Oscars are for movies, right?
Yeah. I like his
Oh,
music.
so it's probably for the music video?
No. He was the main character in it. Camilla, you have exploded.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
What?
yeah,
You have
the
exploded.
Discord. It's like a compression error or something like that.
Oh, that's good.
I bet it's actually not a compression error, but compression error is like the only type of error I've ever heard of. Like, people will always say, whenever there's any problem with video, they'll just say compression error. So I'll just say, it's a compression error. So
Me?
Yeah.
How do I turn myself on and off? Oh,
Your camera.
Camera, I guess.
is that gonna mess up
No,
the?
it's fine. There you are.
There we go. No more compression errors.
Yeah.
And the techie people are freaking out at me. But
I've imploded.
Yep.
Anyway.
In any case, yeah, Eminem. Very, very famous artist. Legendary flow, legendary rhyme scheme. Rap has been in the background since the 80s here, especially with like Death Row Records and stuff like that, which gave rise to Tupac wasn't in it, but Tupac was Tupac in it? I think Tupac might have been in it. Or anyways, artists like Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., all 90s musicians. I believe they might have been late 80s, but rap very rarely reached the top of the billboards, which is why Gangsters of Paradise was so big. But Eminem was able to get a lot of his rap songs up on to those like number 1, number 2, number 3 spots.
Lose Yourself, Rap God, Without Me,
Real Slim Shady.
Like he's got a bunch of. Actually, I think one of his like he and Rihanna did "Love the Way You Lie." I think that's on here too.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a crossover. That's 2010.
Yeah, crossover. 2010. Yeah.
But
So he's
yeah.
up there. He's
100%. Yeah. So then Outkast, Hey Yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah, this song.
Yeah.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum.
Yeah.
Have you heard the like Australia parody, where instead of
Yeah.
hey, they say Straya? So
Yeah.
it's like Straya.
That's good.
Yeah.
Then we have Usher with Yeah, 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 Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
featuring Lil Jon and Ludacris. Then we have Madonna. I believe that's with Call. I'm not even looking at the list because I know all these songs. With Call Me, that is a bop. That's a bop and a half because I think she sampled an Abba beat, and it is just, it's a banger. That's a banger. That's a banger and a bop.
Look at the pose. Look at the drama.
Yeah, she's breaking barriers over there. Then you have Shakira with Hips Don't Lie. Everyone
Which, if you don't know that song, I don't trust you.
Exactly. Shakira introduced me to South America. Next up, we have Rihanna.
Okay, we're swinging at her.
What context? Like, was she your personal tour guide to a Latin American country?
That was the
or
because she's Colombian.
Did she like first inform you of the existence of South America? Because that's
I heard
context.
that song. I haven't been saying dates. That's 2006. So I was only 2. But when I gained consciousness, whenever that happened, last Friday, I heard this song, and she was Colombian. I'm like, oh, where's Colombia? And I was like, oh, there's more.
There's more
to the world than
but wait,
house,
there's more
than my house, like Zach's house, your house, Cam's house. Like, oh damn.
Wait, there's more houses.
Yeah,
this is a bucket.
No.
No,
there's more.
But yeah. So yeah, my introduction to South America, great place, never been. Rihanna. I sounded a lot like Trump there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Great place, never been.
South America, great place.
It's the best. It's a great place. Never been. Yeah.
I'm in physical pain.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
I heard they got a country down there. It's called Brazil. It's huge. It's very big. I'm not even doing Trump. I'm not even doing Trump. I'm doing Alec Baldwin's Trump.
Impersonating Alec Baldwin, impersonating Trump.
But then we have Rihanna. I think I've said, but then we have Rihanna like 8 times.
and have gotten sidetracked. Yeah.
With Umbrella featuring Jay-Z, 2 very good letters of the alphabet. I lied. J is not a great letter of the alphabet. Z I like. J, not great.
I mean, how do you spell joke?
How
do you spell joke?
Yoke.
I was gonna say J is a joke, but okay.
Then we have, what the hell is that called? Bleeding Love by Leona. And that's gonna look hysterical on the playback because I just dragged my camera and threw it down. And then we have, in 2009, to close out the decade, Lady Gaga. My heart goes out to the true President of the United States. When I saw her on her inauguration day, I was so happy that we finally had the president I wanted in the White House. And then this old-ass dude from, Delaware came out of nowhere and started talking about, freedom and the future, and I'm like, you can't touch my poker face, Mr. Biden, if that is your real name. But I've
been laughing too much this episode that like my cheeks hurt. It is not okay.
Smile this entire episode.
Yeah.
But
oh gosh, I'm gonna pull.
Can I say one of the quotes,
Absolutely.
Sebastian?
Absolutely.
So Sebastian.
I don't know what this is, but go ahead.
On February 19th, 2021, on Lady Gaga said, quote, her voice is so incredibly angelic and her face is so aggressively Italian. End quote.
Yeah, Lady Gaga is noticeably Italian. She stands She stands at 5'1".
Okay.
But I love her music. If I was ever to make music, I would list Lady Gaga as one of my greatest influences. But I mean,
yeah, I like Poker Face.
Yeah, it's so good. It deserved the number one. So, I mean, but now let's just, if we take a step back and we look at this cast of characters that we have here, it's so much more diversified than in the previous, like, however many decades we were looking at. Because not only do we have people of different ethnicities, like, like Colombian, African American, Italian, whatever Madonna is, we have just a lot of different representations, and both male and female. And it's just...
And a lot more, like, different genres together.
Absolutely.
Like, in being popular at the same time.
And also, the only duplicate we have is Madonna.
Yeah. So, there you go. 2010s.
All right, 2010s. So yeah, aforementioned "Love the Way You Lie" by Eminem and Rihanna, like they sang it together.
Well,
so it's
Eminem
interesting.
didn't really sing, but
oh, he rapped.
He was just angry in the background.
Yeah. Well, no, because you have like the song has alternating verses between Rihanna just like singing like. Because it's like a love song, but it's about like it's like a love-hate relationship. So it's about like a toxic relationship almost. I kind of want to say, but it's like strange.
Can I go on a 2-minute rant about this song?
Please.
Sure.
So there's two parts. They released two parts. This is the first part, which is the original. They which is Rihanna sings the choruses and the verses are Eminem rapping. And he makes a pun in one of the verses. So he says, "Guess that's why they call it window pane," when talking about someone like leaving out the window after a fight.
Okay.
Which I think is phenomenal. But also, the second part, the Love the Way You Lie part 2, is much more Rihanna based, and it's it has completely new verses, and it's more melodic and it's softer, and there's like, oh my god, it's I heard the part 2 first, and it's so different.
Interesting. Yeah, but this song it's really interesting as a combination. So it's hip hop, pop, and rap, and I just like how it like alternates. Like it very much alternates. Like you've got Rihanna singing like a more like traditional song, and then you've got Eminem interjects and just rapping at her, just like as Sebastian said, just yelling at her, just
scratches
like
to transition and
And it's interesting how it goes back and forth. And this is the start of a trend too. In the 2010s, there are so many music like collaborations or crossovers or whatever you want to call it. And I would say that the reason that all the number one spots are taken by these sort of collaborative songs is that you're going to get both fan bases. So all the Eminem people and all the Rihanna people are going to listen to this song. And so it's like 2 in 1. So it's going to get to the top of the charts easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, for the songs that don't, and some of the songs that do have a collaboration, but for the songs that don't have a collaboration, then what they do is they have a mix of different genres, so that it's like people that are broader fans of a genre are more likely to listen to their song. So it is interesting how you're getting this like mixture, because the 2000s, it's like this interesting like process of development, because like starting with the 80s and then in the 90s and 2000s, you had this sort of like spreading out and diversification into all these different genres of music. And now in the 2010s, you're having this like recrossing over and hybridization of all these different musical genres. And I wonder how that will sort of develop in the future. But yeah,
the songs that are just like one, they're not a collaboration and it's one genre. The way that they solve that is they just play it on the radio 30,000 times a second.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, so the next song we've got is "We Found Love." That's Rihanna and Calvin Harris. So this song is the genre is called electro house, which I hadn't heard of before, but it's like dance music.
Yeah,
it's dance
like
pop.
It's dance music, and it has like a long build up, and then a drop that you would think of as like a house drop.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Like it's got all these aspects listed. Like it's got all the genres listed are like dance pop, techno, Euro pop, like, and I think it's a good combination because you get pretty hyped up when it's like boom 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 boom, and then there's the drop. So yeah, it's a very energetic song, and like makes you want to dance. And of course, it's also a love song. So
this is another decade that like so much nostalgia. Like, I used to play these on repeat, except for Love Yourself.
I was just getting that. I was remembering all the dances that we were at, or just any event. Just we found that, you know, it's just like going in my
exactly.
head, you know.
And every time you'd like turn on the radio, this would probably be on at least one of the stations.
Yeah, definitely.
Banger.
Yeah, I remember these. Yep. Next, 2012, we've got "Somebody That I Used to Know" by Got You. I don't know how that's pronounced. Got You?
Yeah.
I don't know. So this is a pop song. It's about past relationships, and something that I have found that I very much enjoy in the songs that use it are the xylophones. So this song's got a xylophone refrain. Bum, 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 bum. I can just imagine the guy like on the xylophone. So yeah, I like that part.
He knew he was putting out fire. He plays those like 8 notes, and everyone just loses their minds.
He's like, oh yeah. So that's a good song. Then you get "Blurred Lines" by Robin Thicke.
This is one of those songs that like you go back when you're older and look at the lyrics of, and you're like,
yes, and like no, this song I've probably listened to the Weird Al Yankovic parody more than the actual song itself. The parody in question being "Word Crimes," which is basically just a song about grammar mistakes and how infuriating it is when someone makes a grammar mistake. So I feel like Camilla, you'd like that song. Yeah. I'll send you the link to that song after the show.
No, I've heard it.
Yep. Yeah. So
maybe that should be my ringtone.
Yeah, that would be very fitting. That would be a good ringtone. But yes, this is R&B pop. They use the bass guitar. There's lots of percussion, and the beats, like, it's a solid beat. Now this song about his ex-wife. So all these songs, like lots of relationship songs here, like lots of relationship songs.
Yeah.
Lots. Pharrell is featured in this song, the guy from Happy. So yeah. Well, the guy that sings Happy. I feel like most people know Pharrell for Happy.
Pharrell, yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. So then lots of crossovers. Again, this is another crossover. So yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, pretty good song. Then we get "Rude" by Magic. So I like this song, reggae fusion. Oh yeah, I enjoy that. Like going. Here's the thing: a lot of these songs, when they were frequently played, I didn't quite like them that much, and I think that's just because of overuse and saturation.
Yeah, the 30,000 times
Yeah.
played per second.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds like an exaggeration. It's
Yeah.
very nearly not.
I have like I'd call it like the song of the summer. Like I feel like each summer I can point to a specific song that you
Yeah.
could not get away from that summer. And
Yeah.
it like sort of drove me crazy. But looking back on these songs and listening to them now that they're not being like over and over played
Shoved
everywhere, I'm
down
like,
your
these are
throat.
actually pretty good. So yeah. So anyway, reggae fusion, energetic, upbeat melody. So this song is about asking a like traditional father permission to marry his daughter. So another relationship song.
And then basically the father
and then-
says hell
yeah.
no, and the
And they're like,
husband
I'm gonna
to
do
be
it
is just like,
anyway
"Oh,
because
no,
it's
really?"
not the 1920s. Yeah. So also in parentheses in the notes, I'm asking, are people really lonely nowadays? Because is it like a desire for relationships that makes these songs so popular? Like I don't know why all the songs are relationship songs.
Because like
Maybe it's just Rihanna. That's lonely.
no, it's
Maybe the singers are lonely.
Yeah.
It's a popular subject because of who they're catering to. Because a lot of these like pop artists are the people they cater to are like teenagers, like adolescents, and the main thing that a lot of teenagers and adolescents are thinking about right now, other than the hell of school, is relationships because of the culture and because of like we don't have to worry about jobs yet. So like it's literally just about who they're catering to.
But yeah, I'd say 7 out of 10 of the songs in this decade are about either relationships or breakups.
Yeah.
So
and then there's just
that's
Drake
like
flexing his money.
yeah, we'll get to that.
His rant song. Anyway.
So Uptown Funk, great song. Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars. So this song is a mix of many genres, and of course it's another crossover. And people said that it was meant. I mean, it's in the title, funk. It emulates like the 1980s style of funk, and so it's energetic and it's a good dancing song. So,
and that's
give it to you.
Yeah,
So,
I think that is it's either that or Old Town Road, is the biggest song of the 2010s.
Of the decade in general.
Oh, that's hard
the
to
entire decade.
I would say Uptown Funk probably has the advantage just because it came out earlier. So it had more time during the decade.
That's the thing, is that Old Town Road might have eventually gotten bigger, but
within the confines of the 2010s.
I think because I remember Googling that a little bit ago, and I think that was like the number one of the entire decade. But anyways.
Yeah. All right. Then we have Love Yourself by Justin Bieber in 2016. And I don't mean to be derogatory here, but the Justin Bieber songs, what I said before about how like the songs I used to not like them and now I do like them, I still don't like this song. Sorry.
That was the only one that I didn't
Unfortunately.
play on repeat.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Justin Bieber, of his songs. I don't know if he's a good person or not. I don't really care. I just don't like the songs. So, yeah. But it's acoustic pop. It's about a narcissistic ex-lover. So it's like, oh, you think you're so great, then fine, you can go love yourself, essentially, is the message here. But it's like a somber breakup song because it's like, yeah, the ex kind of sucked, but like at the same time, it's still a breakup, so it's like sad. But yeah, that's the song.
Somber makes it sound so much more sophisticated than it was.
Yeah, it's not that sophisticated. Moody, I guess, would be probably more appropriate.
Yeah,
it's a moody song. So, yeah. Then 2017, You have Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. Pop, dancehall, tropical house, they say. So I like the xylophone use because there's a bit of xylophone in there. I don't really listen to the lyrics because I don't think they're very good, but they've got the xylophone. I don't know. I don't think it's a great song. I just
overplayed that it just.
Yeah, it got quite overplayed. But yeah. So then we get to 2018. We've got God's Plan by Drake. So it's like a rap song and trap and pop. So this song, like the music video, is basically Drake making large charitable donations. And I think that's pretty interesting. I have a proposal, right? I kind of like, I mean, people kind of joked about God's Plan, but I think that it would be interesting if instead of like huge, like billion-dollar ad budgets, like how companies have like huge ad budgets, right? If instead like 99% of the budget went like donating to charity, and then they just had like Ron from sales like pull out his camcorder and say like, okay, so we donated to charity this much, by Coca-Cola. I think that would probably do more positive good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I kind of like,
really
I kind of like,
idea.
I like the point of this song. I mean, good idea in terms of like good for the world, but I doubt it would work. Like that's probably why it's not being done already. Is that it probably just doesn't work, unfortunately. Always the idealist. But yeah, if only. But yeah, then we get 2019, Old Town Road by Lil Nas X. So this is interesting because this is country rap, southern hip hop. Like I like that combination. So he also collaborated with Billy Ray Cyrus, who's a country singer, for the song. So yeah, I find that to be an interesting combination. Like country rap, I never considered it before. You know what I mean? Southern hip hop. So that's what I would say is probably the great innovation of the 2010s musically, is the combination of previously distinct genres.
Yeah, and that's partially to do with like how big social media got and how big the internet got and how much like how much better it got for like editing and what's the word I'm looking for? Like how fast things are spread. There's a word for that.
Speed of communication. I don't know.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, but yeah. So I kind of like this trend. My only like concern would be that you don't want it to go like off the rails with the combination, because right, imagine you've got like a paint palette, right? You've got all the colors of paint, and then you just mix them all together. You just get like a brown sludge, right? But if you artfully, take a dab of red and a dab of yellow, you can get like a sunrise orange, And I think as long as the music keeps going that route, like the artful combination of distinct genres, I think it'll still be good. But I hope it won't like become just like a hodgepodge kind of thing where it's just like it's like generic corporate music, just like all smashed together. That would suck. But I think 2010s, I will admit, I probably underrated the 2010s in terms of music, just because of the fact that it was so overplayed during the 2010s. But now that the 2010s are over, and I can look back on it with nostalgia, I'm like, that's nice.
Yeah,
so
like that's one of the main reasons my dad does not like Michael Jackson's music. Obviously, no one should like Michael Jackson, the guy, but his music, on the other hand, distancing that from him, I like his music. I like it a lot.
Separate the art from the artist and all.
Exactly. His main reason that my dad doesn't like Michael Jackson is because he's like, oh, it's overplayed. And I'm like, yeah, in the 80s, like 40 years ago, dude. Yeah. He's like, overplayed.
Oh, he's still remembering that it's overplayed.
So
wow. Oh my god, the 80s was 40 years ago.
Yeah, the 80s was 40 years ago.
the start of it, at
What?
least. The end of it's still 30 years ago, so at least there's that.
Anyways,
Existential crisis
Yeah, I think
ensues.
that's the perfect segue to final thoughts.
Final thoughts before Camilla has an existential crisis.
Yeah, too
I
late.
would like
Let's
to
just
thank
go
her
with
for coming
during.
on the show.
Do you need more Vaseline?
No.
How would you like to have your final thoughts right here, right now?
Rule of thirds. Rule of thirds, baby.
Yeah, fair enough. He kind of had to do it. It would be.
I thought you were saying roll credits for a second,
comedy.
and I was like, yeah, that.
Yeah, it would be bad comedic technique.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
I'll admit.
Technique.
Respect for the craft. But yeah, so that's all the music.
Our rhetoric teacher would be very proud.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, that was really fun.
Bangers
That was a
and jams.
fantastic
These were
episode. Yeah, man.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Lots of bops, bangers, and jams here. This is a very fun episode, just thinking about all the different music. And I would highly recommend that you guys go back like through the episode and just like punch in some of the titles that we gave you if they sound interesting, because a lot of these songs
there's a lot
are
of good
really
ones
catchy.
here.
Yeah.
There were two artists that I kind of wish had been on the list at some point. One of them was Queen, because Queen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Very big in the 80s.
The other one that I kind of wish was on there was Aretha Franklin. I would have loved to see Aretha Franklin on one of these, because I think like Think or Respect were really big at some point. And her voice is one of the like clearest. Dude, oh my god, Aretha Franklin is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is really interesting, the songs that didn't make the list. I was saying before the stream that, like, I think it would have been maybe a bit better if instead of doing the top song of each year, we had aggregated the decades and then did the top 10 of a decade. But I couldn't find, like, a source for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we found sources for the years that was much more convenient. So we did that instead. But, you know, I think both are fair enough representations of their respective decades. But yeah, I very much liked that episode.
I think we did a very good job.
Made me like, remember a lot of songs and like learn about a lot of songs that I might like to listen to and put on my good music playlist.
This is just like a throwback episode. This
for real.
reminded me of a lot of songs I forgot existed. And now I'm gonna go listen to Mr. Sandman on repeat.
Yes.
Man me a sand.
Make him the sandiest man he's sand.
Yeah, I love that song.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So good.
yeah, so thank you, Camilla, for being our guest today, because you know a lot about music. And thank you, Sebastian, for being my co-host, as always.
As always.
And thank you, everyone who's watching right now, for any value of that. Thank you, everyone, for using the chat, is what I would usually say at the end of a Gravity Max live stream. But this is pre-recorded because we're going on vacation.
Thank you, everyone,
and
for
we need
using
to
the
relax.
comments.
Yeah.
In the
Yes,
future.
thank you, everyone, for using the comments. So tell us your favorite song in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and you can be entered into a free gift card giveaway.
Oh my god. There's some
Also,
nostalgia.
check that.
Not really. No free gift card giveaways here.
Check that link, by the way.
Yeah,
in the
Oh yes,
description.
check the link for the number 2 song in 1987. You will very much enjoy that song. I know, I love that song. So yeah. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one. So yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.